Chapter 6:24. A finally broken through to the Martial King realm. Feyrin exhaled heavily and sighed with emotion. After breaking through to the LV1 Martial King realm, his strength had also increased rapidly. It was more than 10 times stronger than before. With his current strength, coupled with the Yin Yang Dao method and the records of the Overlord of Western Shu, he would not be afraid even if he encountered a LV4 Martial King realm expert. He could even compete with a LV5 Martial King realm expert. Feyrin's current strength was comparable to the top 10 geniuses on the Hidden Dragon roll. Not only that, but he was also able to fight across 4 minor realms. In fact, it was even better. Swoosh! Just as Feyrin finished his cultivation, a familiar figure cut through the sky and landed in front of him. Brother Fei, were you cultivating and breaking through? The person who came was Li. After recuperating for nearly a week, the injuries in his body had completely recovered. Not only that, his Yuanli cultivation had also successfully broken through to the LV9 Martial Spirit realm, just like Wu Yang of the Wu family. It could be said that he had profited from a disaster. However, compared to Fei Run, this was nothing. Immediately, Li realized that the Yuan power aura on Fei Ren's body had become even more powerful and mysterious. He had already stepped into the Martial King level. Well, why are you here? Fei Ren nodded and asked. Although Li had recovered from his injuries, it was not suitable for him to fight. He still needed to rest for a few days. Li knew this very well. I have good news. I don't know if Brother Fei has heard about it. Li also grinned. What good news? Fei Ren looked surprised. He had been cultivating in seclusion in the depths of the Li mansion for the past few days, so he did not know what had happened outside. Taishan City will hold an auction in a few days. I heard that there will be many rare treasures on display. Among them, there will be many spirit treasures and martial arts above the heaven tier. Even some hidden families and sects will send people over. Scratching his head, Li explained with a rueful expression on his face. Aren't they afraid that someone will deliberately cause trouble or take advantage of the situation? Hearing this, Fei Ren rubbed his nose again, then smiled and said, As far as I know, in Taishan City, other than the City Lord's office, which belongs to the Sword Clan, your Li family and the Wu family are only 4th-rank clans. You shouldn't be able to handle this kind of situation. Brother Fei, it's the truth. You're absolutely right. Li laughed dryly as well and said, The sponsor of the auction this time isn't our Li clan or the Wu clan. At the same time, it isn't the city governor's estate either. It's the joint effort of the Sword Sect and 2 other great 3rd-grade sections. In addition, the auction in Taishan City is just one of the branches. I don't know how many big shots will come, I see. As soon as he finished speaking, Fei Ren nodded. He seemed to have understood something. It was true that the sponsors of the auction this time were 3 3rd-grade sections. With such a strong foundation, ordinary warriors and forces would not dare to provoke them unless they were tired of living. After all, the 3rd-grade sects were filled with experts. They had several mystique, venerable realm experts. A mere Martial King realm expert could not be ranked at all. By the way, is this the good news you told me before? As if remembering something, Fei Ren looked up at Li and asked. Although a large-scale auction was about to be held in Taishan City, in order to break through to the first tier of the Martial King realm, he had used up all the mid-grade primordial stones in his possession. He was in dire straits, and he had squandered all the more valuable demon cores and medicinal herbs. Even when the auction came, Fei Ren did not have any extra money to buy the treasures he wanted. This was not good news. At the moment, except for some of the high-grade pills that he had personally refined, he was penniless. Brother Fei, didn't you want to inquire about the Heavenly Dragon sect? Maybe this will be an opportunity. Li said again. Fei Ren frowned slightly, then looked at him meaningfully and said lightly, Li, how did you know I wanted to inquire about the Heavenly Dragon sect? He remembered very clearly that he had only told Li Zenon, the head of the Li family, about this matter. No one else knew. Father mentioned it to me before. Brother Fei, I'm sorry. I said too much. Seeming to notice that the other party's expression was a little off, Li laughed dryly and then lowered his head to apologize. He did not seem to have any other intentions. It's okay, I just said it casually. As for whether I can find out about the Heavenly Dragon sect, it's up to fate. Although the Heavenly Dragon sect is no longer the same as before and is called a cult by many orthodox forces in the Xing continent as the origin of the Heavenly Dragon sect in the northern continent, there are still some hermit experts and experts who know the true history of the Heavenly Dragon sect. I have always respected the Heavenly Dragon sect. According to what I know, ever since the sect leader of the Heavenly King of the Heavenly Dragon sect disappeared back then, the vice sect leader, the Dragon King, led the rest of the Heavenly Dragonate and disappeared. Nodding, Li Li's face was solemn. In his heart, the Heavenly Dragon sect that was at its peak and the demigods and dragons ate that were known throughout the Xing continent were all figures of admiration in his heart. Those people were also heroes and true experts back then. I hope there will be some news when the time comes. Looking at Li Li again, Fei Ren thought to himself and then nodded. For many years, in addition to cultivation, he had also been inquiring about the Heavenly Dragon sect, but the results were minimal. He only knew that his birth parents were high-level members of the Heavenly Dragon sect, and that there were many believers and experts in the sect. And now, according to Li Li, the sect leader, the Heavenly Dragon King, disappeared, and the vice leader, the Dragon King, took the rest of the demigods and dragons, ate, and disappeared. Unknowingly, another 3 days passed. In Taishan City, the atmosphere gradually heated up, and a large number of nearby warriors poured in. At the same time, the day of the auction also arrived as scheduled. Without staying in the Li mansion for long, on the day of the auction, Fei Ren and Li Li went straight to the auction venue. The former was there to inquire about the news, and the latter was there to try his luck and see if he could find some treasures in the auction. At the entrance of the auction venue, so many people. As soon as he entered the lobby on the first floor, he was greeted by a vast sea of people, as well as countless people moving about. It was a dense mass of people everywhere, and the atmosphere was fiery and tense, causing Fei Ren's expression to become sluggish. The popularity of the auction here was beyond his expectations. Just the lobby on the first floor had gathered no less than tens of thousands of warriors and rogue cultivators, not to mention the luxurious VIP rooms on the second floor and the floor above. Compared with the large-scale auction in front of him, the auction hosted by Shao Nico in Black Rock City was inferior by more than one level. Chapter 625. Brother Fei, there are too many people here. Let's go up to the second floor. Next to him, Lily also spoke with a helpless expression. After all, the scale of this auction was unprecedented. Not only did it attract the warriors and independent cultivators near Taishan City, but even some of the reclusive families and major sects had also come. It was very popular. Okay. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren also nodded. Soon, under the guidance of the venue staff, the two also came to a private room on the second floor. The room was gorgeously decorated. Looking out through the window, they could see the spacious lobby and the auction stage on the first floor. Although the private rooms on the second floor were not as luxurious as the VIP rooms on the top floor, not everyone could reserve them. Only some of the major families and martial king realm masters could reserve them, and they had to pay a lot of primordial stones. Now, Lily had used his identity as the young clan leader of the Li family and paid 10,000 mid-grade primordial stones to get a private room on the second floor. Inside the room, please wait for a moment. The auction will begin soon. I will take my leave. A beautiful young maid bowed slightly to Fei Ren and Li Li, then turned and left. It seemed that she had other things to do. After the young maid left, Fei Ren also turned his head and looked at Li Li. 10,000 mid-grade primordial stones to reserve a room. The owner of this auction is really greedy. It can't be helped. It's like this. Li Li spread out his hands and smiled at Fei Ren's teasing. Although the price was a little expensive, as the young clan leader of the Li family, he could still afford it. By the way, Li Li, with your identity and the status of the Li family in Taishan City, you can only get a private room on the second floor. It can't be? As if thinking of something, Fei Ren asked again in a puzzled tone. In addition to the crowded lobby on the first floor and the private rooms on the second floor, there was also a luxurious VIP room on the second floor. Logically speaking, with the other party's identity, it should not be a problem to reserve a luxurious VIP room. However, Lily only managed to snatch a private room on the second floor, which made him feel a little puzzled. Brother Faye, it's not that I don't have the money, it's just that I don't dare to compete. In the face of Fei Ren's doubts, Lily smiled bitterly and helplessly said, "The luxurious VIP rooms on the third floor have already been snatched by those hidden families in large sections. Our Lee family is only a fourth-rank family. We can't afford to offend these people." "Oh, tell me about it." Hearing this, Fei Ren was surprised. Even the Lee family of Taishan City could not afford to offend them, which meant that these reclusive families and sects were at least at the third level and had many masters under their command. The Liu family of the Northern Continent, the Sword Clan, the Wangui clan, and even the rumored Zhao family have sent out a young genius. Compared with these great forces and geniuses, our Li family is not worth mentioning at all, let alone outside the boundaries of Taishan City. Lily shook his head and explained. At the same time, he looked at the luxurious VIP rooms on the third floor and sighed. Zhao family? Hearing this, Fei Ren narrowed his eyes. He had heard a little about the Liu family of the Northern Continent, the Sword Clan, and the Wangui clan that Lily mentioned. These were all well-known third-rank forces in the Northern Continent. They were not weak, and they had many masters under their command. Their overall strength was indeed far superior to the Li family of Taishan City. However, he had never heard of the Zhao family that Lily mentioned. Brother Fei, you don't know about the Zhao family? Lily was a little surprised. I don't know. Fei Ren shook his head again. Seeing that Lily really did not know, Lily took a deep breath and said slowly, "The Zhao family is one of the 7 major immortal clans of the world. They are hidden from the world all year round, and there is very little news about them on the continent. However, there are many masters in the clan, and most of the disciples of the Zhao family are gifted and have inherited special bloodline powers. Even the first-rank forces on the continent cannot be underestimated." The 7 major immortal clans. Fei Ren's eyes showed that he was thinking. The 7 major immortal clans of the world are Qin, Chu, Yin, Han, Zhao, Wei, and Qi. The 7 major immortal clans are hidden from the world. Among their ancestors, there were legendary immortals. Their heritage is unfathomable. However, the Qi and Wei clans of the 7 major immortal clans have already perished. They disappeared in the long river of history almost 1,000 years ago. To be precise, there are only 5 of the 7 major immortal clans today. Among them, the Zhao family is the strongest. Lily explained methodically again. It seemed that he knew a lot about the 7 major immortal clans. Could it be that the auction held in Taishan City this time also attracted the attention of the Zhao family of the 7 major immortal clans? Fei Ren reached out and touched his nose. Yes, there is such a rumor circulating in the world. There were some high-level figures in the dragon sect who were related to the descendants of the 7 major immortal clans. However, these are just rumors, and I am not sure if they are true or not. Lily nodded again and said, "Interesting. I didn't expect that a small auction would attract people from the 7 major immortal clans." Hearing this, Fei Ren agreed. His gaze also looked up at the luxurious VIP room above, and his eyes flashed. On the third floor of the auction, in a luxurious VIP room, a young man in a brocade robe leaned quietly on an animal skin sofa. The young man in the brocade robe had a pale face, and there was a circle of thick black eyeshadow around his eyes. His long hair stood up behind him, and his temperament was quite feminine. Although he was a man, his appearance was more like a beautiful woman. "Young master, the auction will begin in a moment." Beside him, a stooped old man in a black robe slowly stepped forward. His left hand was holding a dragon-headed walking stick as he spoke in a low voice. The stooped old man's Yuanli aura was unfathomable. It had far exceeded the level of the martial king realm. He was a mystique, venerable realm fighter, and his strength was at least above the third level of the mystique venerable realm. With his strength alone, he could destroy the entire Taishan city. Zhao Kun, did we bring enough vitality stones? The young man in the brocade robe glanced at the stooped old man and asked indifferently. The other party's name was Zhao Kun. Other than being a third-level mystique venerable realm fighter, he was also one of the young man's personal bodyguards. He was very powerful. Young master, we definitely have enough. Don't worry. Even if we don't have enough money in the end, with your status, I don't think these grade 3 forces will dare to act rashly. Our Zhao clan is not to be trifled with. As his voice fell, the stooped old man named Zhao Kun beamed with joy. His tone was full of respect. The young man in the brocade robe in front of him was named Zhao Wuji. He was a young genius from the Zhao clan, one of the 7 major immortal clans. He was very powerful and had stepped into the 8th level of the martial king realm at a young age. In addition, Zhao Wuji was also one of the direct descendants of the Zhao clan. He had the qualifications to compete for the position of clan leader, and his status was very high. Therefore, when faced with Zhao Wuji's instructions, Zhao Kun naturally did not dare to be negligent. He was afraid that he would accidentally upset the master in front of him. Chapter 626. Very good. I heard that the finale of the Taishan City auction this time is not simple. It seems to be a life chart fragment from a fallen venerable. If I can get such a treasure, my cultivation will be able to take another step forward and step into the mystique venerable realm. I can't miss such an opportunity. Zhao Wuji sneered and said coldly. This time, he came to Taishan City on his own and did not discuss it with the other higher-ups of the clan. Therefore, there were not many experts following him, other than Zhao Kun, who was a third-level mystique venerable realm expert. As his bodyguard, there were only a few high-level martial king subordinates. You are right, young master. Hearing this, Zhao Kun nodded and lowered his head respectfully. Life charts were one of the unique abilities of mystique venerable realm experts. After a warrior stepped into the mystique venerable realm, the nascent soul in his body would evolve into a life chart. The functions and effects of a life chart were ever-changing and different. Everything was determined by the warrior's own comprehension and foundation. Some life providences could be refined to kill enemies directly, while some life providences could help a cultivator heal their wounds. There are even some special life providences that could move mountains and seas, teleport through space, and other unimaginable magical effects. Therefore, the power of life charts was enough to show. According to the information Zhao Wuji obtained from his clan, a rare mystique venerable realm expert's life chart fragment was likely to appear in the Taishan City auction this time. Moreover, this life chart fragment did not come from an ordinary mystique venerable realm expert. It seemed that the owner of the fragment was in existence close to the mystique saint realm when he was alive. His strength was hundreds of times stronger than Zhao Kun, who was beside him. The mystique saint realm was known as a saint realm expert. Almost every mystique saint realm expert was in existence that could stir up the entire continent. Not long after, under the attention of tens of thousands of people, the Taishan City auction also grandly opened. Everyone, welcome to this auction. The old me is the host of this auction. I hope that everyone will be able to bid for the treasures that they desire. Not long later, a tall old man wearing a black robe slowly stepped onto the stage. His eyes looked around the auction hall at the same time as he spoke with a faint smile. Although the black-robed old man looked kind and harmless, the aura around him was like the abyss of the sea. It seemed that his strength was unfathomable, and people could not help but be wary of him. The elder of the sword faction, Yun Tianxiang. In the crowd below, there seemed to be some people who recognized the origin of the black-robed old man and immediately exclaimed in a low voice. Yun Tianxiang was an elder of a third-grade force, the Sword Sect. At the same time, he was also one of the more well-known veteran powerhouses in the northern continent. It was rumored that he had already stepped into the mystique venerable rank, but no one knew exactly how strong he was. After all, Yun Tianxiang was an elder of the sword sect, and most of the people who knew Yun Tianxiang's true strength had already died, becoming ghosts beneath his feet. I didn't expect Yun Tianxiang to host this auction. What a rare sight. I think it's normal. After all, the scale of the auction this time is enormous. Moreover, it's being held by the sword sect and the other two great rank 3 powers. If they don't dispatch some experts and great figures to maintain order, then it's extremely difficult for them to suppress some people from hiding in the shadows. That's true. At the same time, countless gazes were directed toward the auction stage, the private rooms on the second floor, and the luxurious VIP rooms on the top floor. After all, the highlight of this auction came from there. As for the warriors and loose cultivators gathered in the lobby on the first floor, they were just small fries. Most of them were here to join in the fun. After all, these warriors and loose cultivators could not compare to the people from the great families and forces in the private rooms on the second floor and the luxurious VIP rooms. Even if some top treasures really appeared, they could only watch helplessly. Inside a private room on the second floor, Lili, the auction seems to have started. Seeing Yun Tianxiang of the sword sect appear, Fei Ren immediately spoke up. It's true. I heard that this old man is an elder of the sword sect. His strength is unfathomable, and he has already stepped into the mystique venerable rank. Now that I look at him, he is indeed extraordinary. Lili's expression changed as he looked at the black-robed Yun Tianxiang on the auction stage below. In addition to him and Fei Ren, the Wu family and the City Lord's office had also sent many people to this auction in Taishan City. Their purpose was to find treasures. Needless to say, the Wu family and the Li family were sworn enemies. As for the City Lord's office, it belonged to the sword sect. Naturally, Yin Ao, Yin Tianqing, and the others would come to support the large-scale auction hosted by their own sect. In addition, there were also people from the Lu family of the Northern Continent, the Heavenly Ghost sect, and the rumored Zhao family. All in all, the competition in this auction would be very fierce. Even if Fei Ren sold all the 9th-grade pills he had refined, he might not be able to compete with these people from the great sects and family forces. Brother Fei, if you have any treasures that you like, just say the word. If you don't have enough vitality stones, I can also help you with some. Li, who seemed to have seen through Fei Ren's thoughts, also spoke up with a smile. Although he had a conflict with the other party in the beginning, they had become friends after a fight. Now, their relationship could be said to be very harmonious. Okay, in the face of Li's kindness, Fei Ren did not stand on ceremony and nodded. At the same time, in the auction hall, a young and beautiful maidservant dressed in a Chong Sam held a round plate in her hand. Then, she slowly stepped onto the stage. In the middle of the round plate lay a strange, fiery red spirit stone. The spirit stone was surrounded by a faint, fiery aura. Even the temperature of the air could not help but rise by a lot. The first auction item, the Heavenly Fire Stone. This item is a strange stone that fell from the sky. It contains a majestic flame energy, and its power is comparable to the heavenly fire, hence its name. The flame energy inside the Heavenly Fire Stone can be absorbed by a martial artist and used to cultivate the power of Tao. The starting price of this item is 100,000 mid-grade vitality stones, and each bid must not be less than 10,000 mid-grade vitality stones. Everyone, let's start the bidding. Glancing at the strange spirit stone on the round plate, Yun Tianxiang stroked his beard and chuckled. I'll bid 100,000. 100,000 is nothing. I'll increase the price to 120,000. It's only 20,000 mid-grade vitality stones. It's nothing. I'll bid 180,000. Who else? As soon as he finished speaking, the hall on the first floor rose and fell with bids. Everyone was enthusiastic, and the atmosphere gradually became heated. It's actually the rare Heavenly Fire Stone. As expected of a third-grade force, the Sword Sect can even obtain such a treasure, and it's even the first auction item. Looks like the value of the next treasures will definitely be high. Li's gaze also fell on the heavenly fire stone on the round plate, and his face was filled with surprise. Heavenly fire stone, huh? Although this treasure is rare, it's not very useful to me. Looking at the intense competition below, Feiren shook his head and gave up. Although the heavenly fire stone was rare and could be used to cultivate the power of Tao, what he comprehended was a special yin-yang Tao, and he could only rely on his own comprehension to improve it. Even if he absorbed the flame energy inside the heavenly fire stone, it would be useless. Chapter 6:27. At this time, the bidding for the heavenly fire stone was also in full swing. Under the fierce bidding of the crowd, the price soon rose to more than 300,000 mid-grade primordial stones, which was 3 times more than the previous starting price. 320,000. Is there a higher price? On the auction stage, Yin Tianxiang looked around. After finding that no one was bidding, he immediately made the final call. Sold. Although 320,000 mid-grade primordial stones were nothing for the Sword Clan, the profit would accumulate. Moreover, the auction in Taishan City had just begun, and there were more valuable treasures that had yet to appear. Ha! With this heavenly fire stone, my way of fire could be further improved. I can even break through the realm of perfection and touch a higher level of the power of law. The warrior who won the bid for the heavenly fire stone was a burly man with a bare upper body. The burly man's face was dark, and his primordial chi cultivation was also extraordinary. He had reached the 6th level of the Martial King realm and seemed to be a veteran master near Taishan City. Around the burly man, the crowd consciously made way for him. They seemed to be afraid of his strength and did not dare to get too close. After all, the cultivation of the 6th level of the Martial King realm was not to be underestimated, even among the 3 major forces of Taishan City. He was comparable to high-level figures, and his strength was second only to Li Zinan, Wu Tiansheng, Yin Ao, and the others. As for the power of law mentioned by the burly man, it was a more mysterious and powerful force, which belonged to the advancement of the power of law. Generally speaking, only the masters who had stepped into the mystique venerable realm had a slight chance of mastering the power of law, and ordinary masters in the Martial King realm who were proficient in the power of law were already very good. This dark-faced man is very strong. In a private room on the 2nd floor, Feiren looked at the burly man in the venue below with his arms crossed and a surprised expression on his face. As the saying goes, when the hidden dragon comes out, the wind and clouds move. The Taishan City auction this time not only attracted countless masters from the northern continent, but also broadened his horizons and learned about the existence of the rumored 7 immortal clans. That guy has no name. He only has a code name, Mad Shark. He is one of the more famous bounty hunters near Taishan City. He specializes in hunting warriors, rogue cultivators, and wanted criminals on the continent. However, although this Mad Shark is strong, he is not worth mentioning when compared to those people above. Lily also glanced at the burly man mentioned by Feiren. However, the next moment, he shook his head and pointed to the luxurious VIP rooms on the top floor of the venue. According to the report from the servants of the Li family, they had a rough idea of the people who had come to the auction in Taishan City. Among them were the North Continent's Lu family's young master, Lu Tian, the Sword Sect's elite disciple, Wang Chongyang, and the 10,000 Ghost Sex expert, Old Man Gui Ta. All 3 of them were extremely powerful, and their cultivations were at least above LV8 Martial King realm. As for the Zhao clan, one of the 7 immortal clans, because the other party's whereabouts were hidden and the Li clan was weak, they didn't dare to offend the other party. Therefore, they didn't manage to find out any information. They only knew that the person who came was a young genius from the Zhao clan and that there were many experts following him. Therefore, compared to these people, the burly man with the code name Mad Shark was not worth mentioning. I see. Then let's not worry about it. Let's see what other treasures there are. Hearing this, Feiren nodded meaningfully. Then, his attention returned to Yin Tianxiang on the auction stage. However, the next auction item was very strange. It was an ugly piece of broken wood that looked very ordinary. This thing can be auctioned? Damn, are the people of the Sword Clan crazy about making money? Isn't this just a piece of broken wood? Looking at the broken wood in Yun Tianxiang's hand, everyone in the venue was puzzled and very surprised. In another private room on the second floor. What the hell is going on? Is this thing worthy of an auction? Wu Yang half leaned on the animal skin sofa and looked down at the lively auction venue. His eyes were also puzzled. Logically speaking, as an elder of the Sword Clan, Yin Tianxiang's eyesight should not be too bad, and he would not take out such a piece of trash to confuse people. However, as an expert of the 9th level of the martial spirit realm and the young master of the Wu family, a 4th-rank family, he could not see the mystery of the broken wood in the other party's hand. Young master, as an elder of the Sword Clan, Yun Tianxiang's strength is unfathomable. He should not do such a thing to ruin his reputation. On the side, a young man who looked like a guard stepped forward. Although he also had a puzzled expression, he explained in a low voice, "I'd like to see what's so special about it. I'll definitely find a real treasure in this auction. It's best if it's something that can help me break through my cultivation base." Nodding, Wu Yang clenched his fists. "Young master, don't tell me you're still looking for that Feiren?" Seeing the other party's expression, the young man said nervously. However, before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Wu Yang. "No, even Yun Tianqing of the City Lord's Mansion is no match for that guy, let alone me. During this period of time, we should try not to have any conflicts with the Li family." Wu Yang's expression was solemn. He seemed to know his own limits. On the auction stage, Yun Tianxiang's expression was calm. His gaze swept over the crowd again, as if he had expected everyone's reaction. He smiled faintly and said, "Everyone, there's no need to be anxious. Let this old man slowly explain the wonders of this treasure. This thing is called the ancient demon spirit wood. Although it looks ordinary and even a little ugly on the outside, its insides and roots contain a rich amount of demon spirit energy. If this demon spirit energy is absorbed, it will be of great benefit to a martial artist's physique. In addition, the demon spirit chi can also be used to raise a demon pet. The effect is several times better than directly absorbing the blood essence of living beings. The demon spirit ancient wood." As soon as Yun Tianxiang finished speaking, the crowd in the venue was in an uproar and immediately began to discuss spiritedly. "This broken wood is actually the legendary demon spirit ancient wood? No way the Sword Clan can even get their hands on such a thing. If what he said is true, then this demon spirit ancient wood is indeed a supreme treasure. Except for some body refinement martial artists, most martial artists have ordinary physiques. If they can absorb this demon spirit ancient wood, their strength will greatly increase. They can even fight against high-grade spirit treasures with their physical bodies." At this moment, not only the people in the venue, even Li and Fei Ren were a little tempted by the demon spirit ancient wood in Yun Tianxiang's hand and were eager to try. "Everyone, our sword sect obtained this ancient demon spirit wood with great difficulty from an ancient ruin, and there's only one of it. The starting bid for this treasure is 500,000 mid-grade origin stones. Moreover, every single bid must be at least 100,000 mid-grade origin stones. Let the bidding begin." On the auction stage, Yun Tianxiang's voice sounded out once more. His voice was like a thunderclap that instantly resounded throughout the venue. Chapter 628. 500,000. As soon as Yun Tianxiang's voice fell, someone began to bid excitedly. 600,000. Such a treasure is not to be missed. Mother asterisk Kerr, I bid 800,000. Don't compete with me. In the auction hall on the first floor, the voices of increasing bids rose and fell one after another, and the atmosphere instantly heated up again. After all, there's only one demon spirit wood, and it could only be found by chance. Under the fierce bidding of the crowd, the price of a demon spirit would soar to a sky-high price in just a few minutes. 2 million. Compared to the starting price at the beginning, the price of a demon spirit would have increased by 4 times. At the same time, when the price of the demon spirit ancient wood rose to a sky-high price of 2 million mid-grade primordial stones, everyone in the venue finally calmed down. Some of them regretfully withdrew from the bidding, and only a few warriors were still stubbornly holding on. 2 million. Is there a higher price? Seeing that the bidding voices in the auction hall had gradually calmed down, Yin Tianxiang on the stage frowned slightly and then asked in a low voice. Although 2 million mid-grade primordial stones was not a small number, people were always greedy. If they could bid for a higher price, they would naturally be more willing. I bid 2,100,000. Suddenly, a faint male voice came from a private room on the second floor. The next moment, the auction hall fell into a dead silence, and some of the warriors who were bidding changed their expression slightly. Is it Wu Yang, that guy, who finally couldn't help but make a move? Lily crossed his arms over his chest and then grinned. The other party had also come to the auction. Now that he had made a bid, it was obvious that he had taken a fancy to the demon spirit wood. At this time, some of the warriors and rogue cultivators in the auction hall had also discovered the identity of the person who had made a bid, and their expressions were different. It's the Wu family of Taishan City. Even the Wu family is interested in this demonic spirit ancient wood. Looks like we don't stand a chance. Damn it. Seeing this scene, an old man in a gray robe also gritted his teeth, then flicked his sleeve and immediately gave up the bid. After all, the Wu family was one of the 3 major forces in Taishan City. Ordinary warriors did not dare to provoke them. Moreover, the one who had attacked them was the young clan leader of the Wu family, Wu Yang. Even if it was only a competition of wealth, he might not necessarily be a match for the other party. Just after the gray-robed elder gave up bidding, the other warriors who were still holding on shook their heads and then withdrew from the auction one after another. Obviously, like the other party, they did not want to fight with the Wu family of Taishan City. Lili, we can't give this ancient demon spirit wood to this fellow so easily. We have to play with him. At the side, Fei Rin stepped forward and said with a playful tone. Back then at the City Lord's Mansion's grand competition, the other party's arrogant and pretentious look had made him extremely displeased. Even though he had beaten the other party up, it still did not quell his anger. Brother Fei is right, I think so too. We have to make this guy bleed. Turning around to look at Fei Run, Li Li also chuckled, his face revealing a hint of craftiness. Now that there was an opportunity to make things difficult for Wu Yang, he naturally would not miss it. After all, he had also suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of the other party. If it were not for Fei Rin's efforts to turn the tide, the Li family would have become the laughingstock of the Wu family after the City Lord's Mansion's grand competition. Therefore, Li Li's heart was filled with resentment. In the private room on the second floor, seeing that the venue was silent and no one was bidding again, Wu Yang smiled. The ancient demon spirit wood will eventually fall into my hands, too. 1 million mid-grade primordial stones. Although the price was slightly high, it was still within the range of his heart. It's rare for Brother Wu to be so interested. Let me add to the wager. I bid 2 million. Just when Wu Yang felt that everything was under control, a faint male laughter came from the side. The person who spoke was Li Li. As if he had sensed that the other party was deliberately trying to make trouble, Wu Yang's face darkened. He said coldly, What do you mean by this? Do you intend to oppose me? Brother Wu, what are you talking about? It just so happens that I'm also interested in this ancient demon spirit wood. I have no other intentions. However, in the face of Wu Yang's threat, Li Li grinned and did not think much of it. Then, he opened his mouth and added another 100,000. 3 million. Little brother Li Li is indeed a person with good taste. This ancient demon spirit wood is indeed worth more than the real thing. 3 million. Is there a higher bid? Seeing the two of them competing, Yin Tianxiang on the stage stroked his long beard as if he had expected it and said with a faint smile. After all, the conflict between the Wu family and the Li family had nothing to do with their sword sect. For Yin Tianxiang and the sword sect behind him, the higher the final price of this ancient demon spirit wood, the better. Competing in wealth? Li, do you think I'm afraid of you? I bid too. 5 million. After Li Li's provocation, Wu Yang's face immediately flushed red. He was completely enraged and added another 200,000. 2. 6 million. 2. 7 million. Wu Yang's voice was sharp and his tone became more and more hurried. Young clan leader, why don't we just forget about it? This kid is clearly provoking us. Seeing Wu Yang's anger and stubbornly insisting on Li Li's bid, the Wu family guard next to him also had a nervous expression and advised him. He seemed to have seen through something. However, in the face of his subordinate's advice, Wu Yang did not take it seriously and stubbornly insisted. 3 million. Another sky-high bid was shouted. In an instant, the entire venue fell into silence. Hee, Brother Wu's wealth is amazing. I'm still far from it. This ancient demon spirit, what is yours? Li Li's slightly mocking voice sounded again. In the next moment, Wu Yang's expression changed slightly. Then, his eyes turned red and the veins on his forehead bulged. In the face of Li Li's sudden abandonment, he immediately understood that the other party had deliberately set a trap for him. Although the ancient demon spirit wood was not cheap, 3 million mid-grade primordial stones was not a small amount. It could be considered a huge loss. Li, I'll definitely not forgive you. Thinking of this, Wu Yang was also furious. He spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot and collapsed on the sofa. Young clan leader, are you all right? Seeing Wu Yang suddenly vomit blood, the Wu family guard expression changed, and he hurriedly rushed up. This time, it could be said that they had been ruthlessly cheated by Li and Fei Run. 3 million mid-grade primordial stones was more than enough to buy a heaven-grade medicinal pill. Finally, the ancient demon spirit wood was also bought by Wu Yang for a sky-high price of 3 million. On the stage, Yin Tianxiang also laughed heartily. After all, the final price had increased by 6 times. Their sword sect could be said to have made a fortune. Not long after, a few auction items were brought to the stage one after another. There were some rare cultivation methods and martial arts, high-grade spirit treasures, earth-grade spirit talismans, and grade 9 medicinal pills. However, Feiren was not interested in these things. Li, on the other hand, bought some earth-grade spirit talismans. He seemed to be planning to use them as a trump card. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the originally lively auction finally came to an end. The next auction item is the final treasure of this auction. I'm sure I've made everyone wait for a long time. On the stage, Yin Tianxiang's expression was solemn as he muttered to himself. The young maid beside him also slowly carried an exquisite jade box. Chapter 629. The Grand Finale Treasure. As soon as Yin Tianxiang's words came out, everyone was shocked and instantly fell into silence. At the same time, the atmosphere of the entire auction venue reached a climax. The highlight is finally here. In the room, Fei Ren's face also turned serious, and then his gaze fell on the exquisite jade box in the hands of the young maid on the stage. If he was not mistaken, the treasure contained in the exquisite jade box was the grand finale treasure of this Taishian city auction, and it was of extraordinary value. The last auction item is a birth chart fragment left behind by a venerable, and after a unified appraisal by the higher-ups of our sect, we know that this venerable was already half a step into the mysterious saint realm when he was alive, and he was very powerful. Therefore, the value of this birth chart fragment is also extraordinary. The starting price of this treasure is 5 million mid-grade primordial stones, and each increment must be no less than 1 million. On the auction stage, Yin Tianxiang slowly opened the exquisite jade box and then said in a deep voice, "A birth chart fragment left behind by a venerable." Everyone's expression changed slightly, and they were shocked. Inside the exquisite jade box, there was a green fragment that was shaped like a water chestnut. Although it was small in size, one could feel that it contained an endless amount of power, which was far more powerful than that of an ordinary martial king realm cultivator. Although the treasures sold before were all extraordinary, Compared with this birth chart fragment left behind by a venerable, they were still a little weak. I didn't expect that the final treasure would actually be a birth chart fragment. Moreover, the owner of the birth chart fragment was in existence who was half a step into the profound saint stage when he was alive. The sword sect is really rich to even sell such a treasure. On the side, Lily was also shocked and sighed with emotion. Although the Li family behind him was also a fourth-grade family in Taishan City, in terms of foundation and strength, they were still thousands of miles away from the sword sect. As everyone knew, the sword sect had no less than 3 mystique venerables. On the other hand, the Li family did not have a single mystique venerable. Even head of the family, Li Zenon, was only in the 8th level of the Martial King realm, and he could only dominate a region near Taishan City. If I'm not mistaken, the people from the Zhao clan must be here for this birth chart fragment as well, Fei Ren said with a nod. After all, the Zhao clan was one of the 7 great immortal clans in the past. Their strength was not inferior to the first-rank sects and clans on the continent. After the Qi clan and Wei clan were destroyed, the Zhao clan became the leader of the remaining 5 great immortal clans. Thus, it could be seen that ordinary treasures could not enter the eyes of the Zhao clan. Moreover, according to Li, the one who came to the auction in Taishan City this time was a young genius of the Zhao clan, whose status was not low. Brother Fei, many forces are eyeing this birth chart fragment. It seems like we won't be able to compete with them. Lily sighed and smiled helplessly. Clearly, unless they could defeat the people from a northern continent's Lu clan, sword sect, 10,000 Ghouls sect, and Zhao clan in terms of wealth, they would not be able to obtain this birth chart fragment. No rush, let's wait and see. Fei Ren waved his hand calmly. According to his prediction, this birth chart fragment would be sold for a sky-high price in the end. It made no difference whether he acted early or late. At this moment, as soon as Yun Tianxiang's voice fell, people began to bid one after another. They began to compete for the ownership of this birth chart fragment. 5 million. This birth chart fragment is a rare treasure. I'll bid 6 million. I'm Gue Asan from the 10,000 Ghouls sect. I hope everyone can give me some face. 7 million. In just a few breaths, the price of this birth chart fragment soared all the way to a sky-high price of 7 million. Moreover, the price was rising more and more fiercely. 8 million. As soon as Gue Tuasan's voice fell, another bid sounded. This person's voice was indifferent and contained a hint of confidence. The person who spoke was a young man in a white robe with a 7-star treasure sword hanging from his waist. His temperament was also extraordinary. Wang Chengyang, why are you here to join in the fun? Could it be that you're deliberately raising the price to be a prop? Gue Tuasan from the 10,000 Ghouls sect's face sank when he saw the young man in a white robe joining in as well. The young man was an elite disciple of the sword sect, and one of the sponsors of this auction was the sword sect. Therefore, such a possibility could not be ruled out. Wang Chengyang glanced at the exasperated Gue Tuasan and said indifferently, I just happen to be interested in this birth chart fragment. Brother Gue's words are simply nonsense. The corners of Wang Chengyang's mouth rose slightly as he glanced at the exasperated Gue Tuasan. The young man was not lying, but he was not purely raising the price. His origin force cultivation had also reached the 8th level Martial King realm. If he could obtain this birth chart fragment, his strength would skyrocket again and even directly step into the mystique venerable realm. Therefore, Wang Chengyang also wanted to take a gamble. Even if he did not have enough money and gave up in the end, he would not lose anything. The two of you are really in a good mood. In that case, I can't fall behind. I'll bid 9 million. Just as the two of them were arguing, a man's faint laughter slowly sounded from another luxurious VIP room on the 3rd floor. At the same time, it also caused the faces of the people present to freeze, and they began to discuss. It's Lu Tian from the Lu family of the northern continent. I heard that Lu Tian is the young master of the Lu family. His strength is unfathomable. Even the higher-ups of the 3 major forces of Taishan City can't do anything to him. This time, there's a good show to watch. The Lu family is also a 3rd-grade family. Whether it's in terms of background or wealth, they are not inferior to the 10,000 Ghouls sect and the Sword sect. Some of the martial artists and rogue cultivators in the auction hall also noticed the identity of the person who had spoken. After all, those who could reserve a luxurious VIP room on the third floor generally had a great background, such as Wang Chongyang from the Sword sect and Guai San from the 10,000 Ghouls sect. 9 million. Everyone, the price has risen to 9 million. Are there any higher bids? Seeing that Lu Tian had also made a bid, Yin Tianxiang on the stage immediately stroked his long beard and smiled faintly, as if he had expected this. After all, this was not an ordinary birth chart fragment. The owner of this birth chart fragment was a powerful existence who was half a step into the profound saint realm when he was alive. Therefore, the value of this birth chart fragment naturally rose as well. In addition, as an elder of the Sword sect, Yin Tianxiang was very gratified when he saw the price of this birth chart fragment rising higher and higher. After all, the higher the price, the more benefits the Sword sect could earn in the end. In a private room on the second floor, Mother Kerr, this group of people is really rich. In just a few minutes, the price has risen to 9 million. Fei Ran sighed with emotion as he looked at the auction hall below, where the atmosphere was gradually reaching a climax. After all, this was 9 million mid-grade primal stones, not some junk and useless stones. None of the martial artists who could casually take out 9 million mid-grade primal stones were simple. For example, Lu Tian, Wang Chongyang, Guai San, and the others in front of him, most of them had amazing backgrounds. Chapter 630. You win. The price rose to 9 million. Even Guai San from the 10,000 Ghouls sect could not afford it. He immediately gave up on bidding. Wang, I'll remember you. Don't let anyone from the Sword sect see me in the future. Guai San glanced gloomily at Wang Chongyang. His tone was fierce as he sneered. Although he knew the competition for this birth chart fragment would be fierce, he could still bid for it if Lu Tian did not deliberately raise the price. However, now that Lu Tian had made a bid, there was no need for him to continue. Guai San knew Lu Tian's wealth was far greater than what he had seen. Apart from that, Zhao Wuji from the Zhao clan had not made a move yet. It would not be easy for him to obtain this birth chart fragment. I'm happy to oblige. Wang Chongyang from the Sword sect merely shrugged in the face of Guai San's threat. It was as though he was not afraid of Guai San's threat at all. 10 million. Wang Chongyang raised the price again. Perhaps it was his last gamble. He raised the price to exactly 1 million. 11 million. However, Lu Tian was unwilling to be outdone. He seemed to be prepared for this. I give up. Wang Chongyang grinned and gave up as well. It seemed like he had reached his bottom line. 11 million. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? On the auction stage, Yin Tianxing glanced at the luxurious VIP room on the third floor where Zhao Wuji and the others were. He wanted to know when Zhao Wuji would make a move. 12 million. As soon as Yin Tianxing finished speaking, Zhao Wuji finally made a move. Damn it, it's Zhao Wuji from the Zhao clan. He's finally making a move. At this moment, Lu Tian's expression darkened in the luxurious VIP room. Although he had forced Guai San and Wang Chongyang to back off, the limit of his wealth was 11 million. He could not compete with Zhao Wuji at all. Brother Lu, if you want to continue playing, I can add another million. Zhao Wuji seemed to have seen through Lu Tian's thoughts. His words caused everyone's expression to freeze. In just an instant, the entire auction hall fell silent. Perhaps only Zhao Wuji, who was from one of the 7 great Immortal clans, had such great wealth. Brother Zhao is from the Zhao clan. With our wealth, we are naturally no match for him. Lu Tian grinned and revealed a meaningful smile. Even though he was extremely unwilling, he knew his place and gave up on bidding right away. Moreover, the auction in Taishan City had not ended yet. It would be disadvantageous for him if he had a conflict with the other party over a birth chart fragment. After all, the other party had a level 3 Mystique Venerable Realm expert by his side and several high-level Martial King Realm subordinates. They were not to be trifled with. The auction house, just when everyone thought the birth chart fragment had found a new owner, a discordant male voice rang from a private room on the second floor. I bid 13 million. The person who spoke was none other than Feyrin. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire auction venue fell into an uproar and shock. Who is it that dares to go against the people of the Zhao clan? Are they tired of living? That's a total of 13 million mid-grade primordial stones. Looking at the three major forces of Taishan City, few people have such financial resources. There's going to be a good show to watch this time. Zhao Wuji's face darkened when he saw that someone had suddenly made a move and disrupted his plan. He said in a deep voice, "I'm Zhao Wuji. Please give me some face and hand over this birth chart fragment. The Zhao clan will definitely repay you in the future." Even though he was extremely displeased because it was the first time someone had dared to go against him, he did not attack in a fit of rage because they were still at the auction and he had to take into account the reputation of the Sword Sect and the other Grade 3 forces. "I'm sorry, but I've also taken a fancy to this birth chart fragment." However, to Zhao Wuji's surprise, Feyrin had no intention of compromising. "Since that's the case, I'll bid 14 million. By the way, let me give you a piece of advice. Those who offend our Zhao clan usually end up in a miserable state." Zhao Wuji laughed instead of getting angry when he heard this. He immediately added another million. A trace of ruthlessness and cruelty appeared on his feminine face. His words were filled with threat. In a private room on the second floor, "I didn't expect this guy to be so rich. It seems that I might not be able to win with just the grade 9 medicinal pills in my possession." Feyrin frowned slightly when he saw Zhao Wuji add another million. Originally, he planned to sell all the grade 9 medicinal pills in his possession and exchange them for mid-grade origin stones of equal value. However, it seemed that he was lacking a little. "Brother Fei, where did you get so much money?" Lily also came over from the side and asked with a nervous expression and a surprised tone. He was also shocked when the other party suddenly made a move and offered a sky-high price of 13 million. After all, he had only prepared 5 million mid-grade origin stones for this auction in Taishan City. It was not on the same level as Feyrin's bid at all. "I have refined some grade 9 medicinal pills in my possession. I can exchange them for origin stones." Feyrin glanced at Lili again and nodded. He did not seem to care about exposing his identity as a grade 9 alchemist. Grade 9 medicinal pills. Lili's face froze when he heard this. "Brother Fei, although you have some grade 9 medicinal pills in your possession, I bought a lot of things before. Now, I only have 3 million mid-grade origin stones left. I'm afraid I can't win against that guy. In addition, that guy called Zhao Wuji is a young genius from the Zhao clan. Why don't we?" Seeing that Feyrin intended a fight to the death with Zhao Wuji, Lily whispered nervously as if he was afraid of offending the other party. After all, the Zhao clan behind the other party was one of the 7 great immortal clans. Their strength was comparable to the first-grade sects and clans of the continent. The Li clan was just a 4th-grade clan in Taishan City. They could not afford to offend such a colossus. Moreover, even if it was purely a competition of financial resources, the two of them together would not be enough. "Don't worry about it. Continue to bid. This time, increase it to 15 million. Turning his head to look at Li, Feyrin gestured again. His tone was calm as he said, "Li, trust me." Obviously, he did not take Zhao Wuji's threat to heart. He was determined to seize the fate fragment left behind by the almighty venerable, even if he had to spend all his financial resources. "All right." Seeing this, Lily gritted his teeth and immediately went all out. "I'll bid 15 million. He only had 3 million mid-grade origin stones left in his hands. Although he did not know where Feyrin got the confidence to compete with Zhao Wuji, he knew that Feyrin would never do something he was not confident in after interacting with him for a period of time. Therefore, Lily chose to believe the other party this time. In addition, the other party had the identity of a grade 9 alchemist. Lily knew very well how important it was to rope in a grade 9 alchemist. This was also the reason why he did not hesitate to offend Zhao Wuji. Chapter 631. What? As Li Li's voice fell, everyone fell into a dead silence. In the luxurious VIP room on the third floor, Zhao Wuji's face was ashen and as gloomy as stagnant water. At this moment, his fists were clenched under his sleeves, and his eyes seemed to spew out endless anger. As a direct descendant of the Zhao clan, he had not experienced this feeling for a long time. This feeling of being provoked caused Zhao Wuji's heart to be filled with endless killing intent. Young master, it seems to be someone from the Li family. Zhao Kun hurriedly stepped forward and seemed to see the change in Zhao Wuji's expression. He knew that the other party was on the verge of rage. The Li family? Zhao Wuji raised his eyebrows slightly. Because the Zhao clan had been living in seclusion for many years, he did not know much about the forces around Taishan City. Yes, the Li family is one of the three major forces in Taishan City. As for the head of the Li family, Li Zinan, he is a veteran of the 8th level Martial King realm. Although his strength is not as good as mine, he is not bad. The person who just bid with you seems to be Li Zinan's son, Li Li. Nodding his head, Zhao Kun opened his mouth to explain. Long before coming to Taishan City, he had already figured out most of the surrounding forces. Even the city lord's mansion, which belonged to the sword sect, was no exception. Therefore, Li Li, the young master of the Li family, naturally did not escape Zhao Kun's eyes. Just a little trash from a 4th-rank family. How dare he compete with me? In my opinion, there should be someone else behind it. Facing Zhao Kun's analysis, Zhao Wuji shook his head, and then a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. This Li Li is just a cover. I want to see who it is. This time, he wanted to make an example of him. He wanted everyone present to know the consequences of offending the Zhao clan. Hearing this, Zhao Kun also looked thoughtful, and then asked again, Young master, do we still have to make a move? Although 15 million was already a sky-high price, it had not reached the limit of their financial resources. If they continued to bid, they still had the ability to do so. No need. That life chart fragment will temporarily be in the hands of that guy. In any case, it will be mine in the end. After this auction ends, Zhao Kun, you will send a few people to retrieve the item. Do you understand what I mean? Speaking up to this point, Zhao Wuji also stretched out his hand and made a throat-slitting gesture. His expression was ruthless and merciless. Don't worry, young master. I'll definitely kill that brat and bring back the birth chart fragment. Zhao Kun immediately understood Zhao Wuji's instructions. He hurriedly cupped his hands and spoke respectfully. A wisp of killing intent flashed past his aged face. The auction platform, 15 million. Is there a higher price? The sword sect's elder, Yun Tianxiang, looked around and spoke again. However, after he spoke, the entire place fell into a dead silence. No one made a bid, not even Zhao Wuji from the Zhao clan. It seemed that everyone had completely given up on bidding. 15 million deal. Seeing this, Yun Tianxiang nodded inwardly and made the final decision. After all, it was reasonable for this life chart fragment to be auctioned for an astronomical price of 15 million mid-grade origin stones. Their sword sect had also made a huge profit, so it wasn't a loss. Along with the final life chart fragment falling into Fei Ren's hands, the Taishan City auction finally came to an end. In a private room on the 2nd floor. Not long after, a beautiful young attendant pushed open the door and entered. After that, she respectfully presented an exquisite jade box. Shockingly, within it was the life chart fragment that Fei Ren had paid an astronomical price for. 15 million. Please pay with origin stones. After she placed the life chart fragment in Fei Ren's hands, the young attendant bowed and spoke with a smile in the next moment. Just like everyone else in the auction hall, she was extremely shocked by Fei Ren's sudden bid. After all, Zhao Wuji was a genius from the Zhao clan, and Fei Ren didn't hesitate to offend him to seize this life chart fragment. He was truly extraordinarily courageous, and it could even be said that he was fearless. There are over 20 perfect grade 9 medicinal pills here. At the same time, there are 3 million mid-grade origin stones in this spirit ring. I think it should be enough. Ren took out a few small jade bottles filled with medicinal pills and a spirit ring from his bosom. In the next moment, he handed them to the young attendant and spoke indifferently. He had already estimated that the grade 9 medicinal pills in his possession and the 3 million mid-grade origin stones he borrowed from Li were just enough to offset the price of this life chart fragment. Even if the young attendant before him didn't know what was good for her, as a third-grade force, the sword sect definitely had experts with extraordinary insight. These experts naturally recognized that the grade 9 medicinal pills in his hand were of extraordinary quality. Grade 9 medicinal pills. Reaching out to take the small jade bottle, the young attendant's face froze. Even if she didn't open the jade bottle, she could still sense strands of strange pill fragrance that seeped into one's heart. Surprisingly, Ren was right. The medicinal pills in these jade bottles were all extraordinary. However, she was unable to determine the exact grade of the medicinal pills with her insight. "Please wait a moment, sir. I'll go ask the chief steward first." She bowed to Ren again. In the next moment, the young attendant hurriedly left the private room. She seemed to intend to look for the sword sex experts to appraise the value of these medicinal pills. "Brother Fei, I didn't expect that you're actually a grade 9 alchemist. Amazing." At this moment, Lily opened his mouth and spoke with an envious tone. It was the first time he had seen such a shocking genius who cultivated both martial arts and alchemy. "Lily, there's no need to say such nice words. There might be a fierce battle in a while." Ren similarly glanced at Li and revealed a helpless smile. After that, he raised his hand and picked up the life chart fragment in the jade box. He knew very well that he had completely offended Zhao Wuji from the Zhao clan by snatching the last life chart fragment. Zhao Wuji was a direct descendant of one of the 7 great immortal clans. His strength was unfathomable. At the same time, he had a group of experts following him. Although it seemed calm on the surface, in fact, a storm was brewing in the dark, and killing intent was everywhere. When the auction in Taishan City ended, it would be time for Zhao Wuji and the others to make their move. Ren didn't even need to think to know that as soon as he left this place, he would face endless pursuit from Zhao Wuji and the others. Therefore, he could only devour this life chart fragment in front of him and increase his cultivation strength to protect himself. That's true. The people of the Zhao clan might have already targeted us at this moment. When Ren mentioned it, Li was also enlightened, and his expression suddenly became solemn. Although Zhao Wuji and the others' target was Ren, he was also considered an accomplice, so they would definitely not let him off easily. Chapter 632. Inside the room, crack. Ren crushed the birth chart fragment with his palm. In the next moment, he began to circulate the cultivation method of the overlord of Western Shu, preparing to absorb the majestic energy contained in it. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As a large amount of majestic energy gushed out, a gorgeous galaxy of energy also circled around his body. It was as bright and eye-catching as the stars in the night sky. Is this the birth chart fragment left behind by an almighty venerable? The energy contained in it is indeed terrifying. On the side, Lily also took a few steps back when he saw Ren beginning to cultivate and break through on the spot. His face was filled with bewilderment and surprise. Now that they had offended Zhao Wuji and the others from the Zhao clan, they would definitely take revenge after the auction ended. Therefore, Ren's choice to directly devour the birth chart fragment in order to break through his cultivation base was not a big deal. After all, when Zhao Wuji and the others came to kill him, it would be difficult for him to keep this birth chart fragment. As expected of an existence with half a foot in the mysterious sage stage. It's just a birth chart fragment, but the energy contained in it is so terrifying. Ren clasped his hands together, and a large amount of energy flowed into his dantian. The shock in his heart grew stronger. At this moment, he felt that his entire body was filled with power, as if his entire body was about to explode from the endless energy. Moreover, this energy was only the tip of the iceberg of the birth chart fragment. With another roar, Fei Rin's body shook again. In the next moment, the origin energy in his body suddenly surged. He actually broke through the shackles of the realm and stepped into the second level of the Martial King realm. Although his cultivation base had successfully broken through, the majestic energy contained in the birth chart fragment was far from disappearing. It continued to pour into his body like a mighty army sweeping across the battlefield. Boom! Another tremor came from his dantian. Third level of the Martial King realm, fourth level of the Martial King realm, fifth level of the Martial King realm. After absorbing this birth chart fragment, Fei Rin's origin energy cultivation base broke through 4 levels like a rocket and officially stepped into the 5th level of the Martial King realm. His strength had increased by more than 10 times. It was no exaggeration to say that with Fei Rin's current cultivation, coupled with the power of the Yin-Yang Dao skill and the Overlord's demonic mark, he would not be afraid even if he faced a LV9 Martial King realm expert. He could even contend with a LV10 Martial King realm expert. Brother Fei, your cultivation base? Not only Fei Rin, but even Li Li, who was standing at the side, was dumbfounded and shocked. Chun Shi's origin energy cultivation had actually broken through 4 minor levels successively, and this scene naturally entered into his eyes. It could be said to be the appearance of a miracle, and it was extremely difficult for him to remain calm. I made a fool of myself. When Fei Rin saw the birth chart fragment in his hand had turned into dust, he stopped cultivating and looked at Li Li with a grin on his face. As he had expected, after absorbing the birth chart fragment left behind by the half-step profound Saint Stage expert, his cultivation base had finally made a breakthrough, and his strength had soared. Moreover, if it weren't for the fact that his dantian was more special than that of ordinary martial artists, this birth chart fragment could have even helped him break through to the mystique venerable stage. After all, after Fei Rin's dantian had fused with the immortal refining cauldron, both the volume and the total amount of origin energy were several times larger than that of ordinary martial artists. Brother Fei, what do you plan to do now? After seeing that Chun Shi's strength had soared, Li Li's heart relaxed a little and asked again. After all, Fei Rin's origin energy cultivation base had broken through to the LV5 Martial King realm, which also meant that when they faced Zhao Wuji and the others, they would face less pressure. I'll deal with whatever comes my way, but at this point, Fei Rin hesitated for a moment and did not continue. But what? Li Li, their target is me. I don't want to implicate you and the Li family of Taishian City. Fei Rin glanced at Li Li again and said lightly. In fact, this was only one of the reasons. Most importantly, Fei Rin did not want to expose the secrets of the immortal refining cauldron and the Overlord's record of Western Shu. Moreover, with Li Li's strength, even if he attacked, he would only be a burden to him and would not be able to fight against Zhao Wuji and the others. After all, Li Li was a young genius from the Zhao clan. Even his guards were Martial King realm experts. Ordinary martial artists would not be able to fight against them. Brother Fei, you are a guest of our Li family and a 9th grade alchemist. Now that the Zhao clan has come to kill us, how can we just stand by and watch? Li Li seemed to understand Fei Rin's meaning. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Although he was also a little afraid of the Zhao clan, they were now in Taishian City, which was their Li family's territory. As the saying went, a strong dragon could not suppress a snake in its old haunts. In his opinion, even if Zhao Wuji had a few experts with him, he would still give the Li family some face. Li Li, I appreciate your kindness, but it's better if you don't interfere in this battle. Even your father can't fight against the old man beside him. Listen to me. This is for the good of your Li family. Fei Rin patted Li Li's shoulder meaningfully. The next moment, he spoke again, his eyes solemn. If I can save my life this time, I will return the mid-grade primordial stones I borrowed from you in the future. As his voice fell, Fei Rin's figure disappeared in an instant. He left the private room on the 2nd floor as fast as a phantom. After leaving the auction, Fei Rin also flew all the way out of the city. He had a premonition that this would be a cruel and bloody battle. At the same time, somewhere in the city, "Young master, that boy has already left the city. There is no one from the Li family with him." Looking at the gloomy Zhao Wuji in front of him, Zhao Kuan stepped forward and said respectfully. Although Zhao Kuan did not say anything on the surface, he knew very well that Zhao Wuji was furious in his heart. Fei Ren was just a rogue cultivator. Not only did he snatch the birth chart fragment of a half-step profound sage powerhouse for a high price of 15 million mid-grade primordial stones, he also ignored Zhao Wuji's threat. As a direct descendant of the Zhao family, Zhao Wuji naturally could not tolerate this. Very well, he's dead meat. Hearing this, Zhao Wuji's lips curled into a cold smile. Then, he looked at Zhao Kuan and ordered, "Send a few men to kill this brat." Other than Zhao Kuan, who was a level 3 mystique venerable realm expert, the rest of the guards who followed him were at least level 7 martial king realm and above. Therefore, killing Fei Ren, who was only at level 1 martial king realm, was a piece of cake to him. He did not even need to do it himself. Yes, this old man will bring a few people to deal with that bastard. Hearing this order, Zhao Kuan lowered his head respectfully again. His old face revealed a strong, killing intent. Chapter 633. Outside Taishan City, an afterimage streaked across the sky. Swoosh! Fei Ren landed steadily on the ground and turned to look at the dense forest behind him. "After following me for so long, are you still planning to hide?" As soon as he finished speaking, 3 figures appeared one after another. "Kid, you're quite capable. Your sense of smell is quite sharp." The leader was a middle-aged man in a martial robe. At this moment, he had a cold smile on his face. The aura of origin power around him was extraordinary. He had already reached LV8 Martial King realm. In addition, the 2 companions beside the middle-aged man were not ordinary either. Their origin power cultivation had reached Martial King realm, and they were only slightly weaker than the middle-aged man. They were comparable to LV7 Martial King realm. 3 Martial Kings. Seeing this, Fei Ren narrowed his eyes. Judging from the other party's uniform, these people seemed to be from the same force. They had been eyeing him for a long time with murderous intent. Zhao Wuji's men? It seems that this guy disdains to do it himself. Moreover, the mystique venerable realm elder is not here. Mother of Asterisker, how dare you look down on me? Thinking of this, Fei Ren's lips curled into a cold smile, revealing his murderous intent as well. Ever since he had absorbed the birth chart fragment, his strength had increased tremendously. If it had been in the past, he might have been afraid to encounter 3 Martial King realm experts at once. However, things were different now. As long as the LV3 Mystique Venerable Realm Elder beside Zhao Wuji did not take action, the Martial King realm experts in front of him would not be able to stop him. "Big brother, don't talk nonsense with him. Senior Zhao Kuan has ordered that we must bring this kid's head and the birth chart fragment back to the young master." Beside him, a LV7 Martial King realm Zhao clan warrior said in a deep voice. At the same time, he looked at the man in the martial robe in front of him. The other party was the strongest among the 3 of them. His cultivation had reached LV8 Martial King realm, and he could even contend with the LV9 Martial King realm expert. In his opinion, as long as the other party took action, Fei Ren would not be able to escape even if he had wings. "Good. Let's go together and kill this kid." The man in the martial robe nodded and then took the lead to attack. He raised his hand and clawed at Fei Ren's head. The attack was as sharp as thunder. Swoosh! Whoosh! In the next moment, the other 2 warriors from the Zhao clan looked at each other and charged towards Fei Ren. As martial arts experts of the Zhao clan, the 3 of them were very clear about the principle of a lion using its full strength even when hunting a rabbit. Therefore, even if Fei Ren's cultivation was inferior to theirs, the 3 of them would not underestimate him. Underestimating an enemy was a taboo for cultivators. Good timing. Fei Ren let out a long howl when he saw the 3 of them charging at him. He stomped his feet on the ground and dodged the man's claw as if he had teleported. In the next moment, the power of the Overlord's magic pattern in his dantian was instantly activated, causing purple clouds to swirl around him. Overlord's sweep. 2 demonic purple lines appeared on his cheeks, and the power of the 2 Overlord's magic patterns was instantly released. Fei Ren's figure strangely appeared behind one of the Zhao clan's martial artists, and in the next moment, he blasted out a punch. TSK. Boom! Purple chi filled the air and mixed with the biting cold fist energy, causing the power of the fist to increase by several times. In an instant, it smashed onto the back of the Zhao clan warrior, causing a loud and muffled sound to ring out. The fist force exploded, and in the next moment, the Zhao clan's martial artist turned pale and spat out a mouthful of black blood. He fell into the dense forest behind him like a kite with a broken string. Along the way, he broke countless trees before he finally stopped. No one knew if he was dead or alive. A LV-7 Martial King realm martial artist killed with a single punch. What? Seeing that Fei Ren had easily killed their companion with a single punch, the man in the martial robe and the other Zhao clan's martial artists' faces changed drastically. According to Zhao Kuan's intelligence, Fei Ren, who they were chasing, was a small rogue cultivator, and his cultivation was only at LV-1 Martial King realm. He was not a powerful cultivator. However, the strength that Fei Ren had unleashed was far beyond their imagination. He had killed an LV-7 Martial King realm martial artist with a single punch. LV-5 Martial King realm. This kid hid his strength. The man in the martial robe's face turned solemn as he fell behind again. Just now, the man in the martial robe had suddenly unleashed his true strength, and he had seen it with his own eyes. Surprisingly, Fei Ren's cultivation was not at LV-1 Martial King realm, as stated in the intelligence, but at LV-5 Martial King realm. Big brother, how did this kid become so powerful? Could it be that he swallowed the birth chart fragment? The other Zhao clan's martial artist exclaimed in a low voice. At the same time, he looked at the man in the martial robe as if he had suddenly thought of something. That's possible. This kid's strength is a little strange. Let's kill him together to avoid any more trouble. Upon hearing this, the man in the martial robe nodded again. Endless killing intent flashed across his dark eyes. Not only had Fei Ren killed their companion, but he had also swallowed the birth chart fragment. This time, if they did not bring Fei Ren's head back to atone for their sins, they would not be able to answer to Zhao Wuji and Zhao Kuan. They would definitely be punished or even killed. If the old man beside Zhao Wuji doesn't make a move, you guys won't be able to kill me. Looking at the two of them again, Fei Ren grinned, revealing a mocking expression. Although his cultivation base was not as high as the man in the martial robe and the other Zhao clan's martial artist, he could ignore the difference in cultivation base with the power of the Yin-Yang Dao technique and the Overlord's Mageweth. As long as the person who came was not a mystique venerable, a mere martial king would not be able to do anything to him. Now, excluding the two Overlord's Mageweths that he had consumed earlier, Fei Ren still had 23 Overlord's Mageweths stored in his energy center. Even if he did not use the power of the Yin-Yang Dao technique, he could easily kill the two people in front of him with just the 23 Overlord's Mageweths in his energy center. Arrogant. Kid die. The man in the martial robe and the other Zhao clan's martial artist were enraged when they saw Fei Ren's contemptuous and disdainful expression. They immediately circulated their origin energy and charged toward Fei Ren from both sides. Overlord crossing the river. Fei Ren opened his arms wide like a rock spreading its wings. In the next moment, Fei Ren's figure did not dodge. Instead, he charged straight at the two of them. A large amount of mysterious purple gas surrounded his body. His entire person seemed to have transformed into a purple divine eagle, soaring into the sky. This time, he directly released the power of 20 Overlord's Mageweths. The power of the 20 Overlord's Mageweths layered on top of each other, and its power was several times stronger than before. It was comparable to the full force attack of a half-step mystique venerable. Bang! Bang! The two's origin energy attacks disappeared like snow melting in the spring. In the next moment, Fei Ren's figure appeared in front of them in an instant. His arms were like iron hammers that heavily smashed into their chests. The two Zhao clan's martial artists were instantly sent flying as blood splattered across the sky. Chapter 634. Swoosh! Fei Ren landed firmly on the ground and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The attack just now was extremely powerful. Not only did it consume 20 Overlord demonic tattoos, but also drained nearly 80% of the origin energy in his Dantian. It was the most powerful attack he could unleash at the moment. You, who exactly are you? On the other side of the forest, the man in the martial robe and the other warrior from the Zhao clan were lying on the ground. Their bodies were covered with bloodstains and wounds. At this moment, they were unable to move. They looked at Fei Ren with eyes full of shock and fear. The opponent's attack just now was comparable to the full force attack of a half-step to mystique venerable realm expert. Even if the two of them joined forces, they were no match for it. Fei Ren's strength had greatly exceeded their imagination. At first, the Zhao clan warriors thought that the opponent was a bird in a cage. Now, it seemed that they were the prey in Fei Ren's eyes. Asked the King of Hell. With a cold smile, Fei Ren ignored the two's questions. In a flash, he appeared in front of one of the Zhao clan warriors. In the next moment, he struck out with his palm and instantly crushed the top of the man's head. Boom! Red and white objects scattered on the ground. In the next moment, the level 7 Martial King realm Zhao clan warrior died on the spot and became a headless corpse. If you want to blame someone, blame yourselves for coming to kill me. Fei Ren's face was cold. He lifted his foot and stomped on the chest of the man in the martial robe next to him. You! Crack! The sound of the bones in his chest cracking was heard. The man in the martial robe's voice came to an abrupt end. In the next moment, he died on the spot. His eyes were wide open, and he looked like he died with a grievance. At this point, the three Zhao clan Martial King realm experts were all dead. They died at the hands of Fei Ren. Zhao Wuji, since you sent someone to kill me, then just you wait. Glancing at the three Zhao clan warriors' corpses under his feet, Fei Ren's eyes flashed coldly. Those who kill will be killed by others. Even though the other party was from one of the 7 immortal clans and was a direct descendant of the Zhao clan, he didn't take it to heart. He now had the divine cauldron of immortality, the yin-yang Taoist arts, the records of the overlord of Western Chu, and many other trump cards. The only thing he lacked was time to become stronger. That was all. Buzz. Strands of devouring power gushed out from his palms. In the next moment, Fei Ren summoned the divine, refining cauldron as well. At the same time, he absorbed all the remaining life essence from the corpses of the 3 Zhao clan cultivators on the ground. He then refined them into pure energy of the world. As the strands of heaven and earth energy entered his body, Fei Ren's origin energy aura also surged, breaking through the shackles and breaking through again. LV6 Martial King Realm. Narrowing his eyes, Fei Ren exhaled a breath of air with a gratified look on his face. Although the fierce battle this time had consumed the Overlord's Mageweth that he had painstakingly condensed, and there were only 3 Overlord's Mageweths left in his Dantian, the outcome was still good. After killing the 3 Martial King realm experts of the Zhao clan, it could be said that he had gotten rid of one of his biggest worries. This aura is Mystique Venerable Realm. However, just as Fei Ren was about to leave, his expression suddenly changed. Then his eyes looked in the northwest direction of the dense forest with uncertainty. Just at that moment, he suddenly sensed an extremely terrifying Yuanli aura, which had far surpassed the Martial King realm. Moreover, the other party was rushing toward him at full speed. It was coming menacingly. Oh no! Fei Ren's heart skipped a beat. His expression darkened, as if he had suddenly remembered something. In the next moment, his figure shot into the sky and flew in the opposite direction of the dense forest. Little B asterisk starred. Do you think you can run away? In the sky, an old voice that sounded like thunder boomed across the sky. The tone was furious. In the next moment, an old man in a gray robe shot across the sky. His body was like a stream of light as he charged toward Fei Run. It was Zhao Kun, a level 3 Mystique Venerable Realm expert. He was the only Mystique Venerable Realm expert by Zhao Wuji's side. Just a moment ago, Zhao Kun had sent 3 Martial King Realm experts of the Zhao clan to kill Fei Ren. He had thought that victory was already in his hands and that there was no need for him to do it himself. However, the result had greatly exceeded his expectations. Not only did Fei Ren not die, but he had also killed all 3 of the Zhao clan's martial artists that he had sent out. As every martial artist of the Zhao clan had their own natal soul lamp, the level 3 Mystique Venerable Realm Zhao Kun was the first to know what had happened after the 3 Zhao clan's martial artists died. He immediately charged over in a rage. It really is that old B asterisk starred. This is troublesome. Looking at the murderous Zhao Kun behind him, Fei Ren's expression turned ugly. Zhao Kun had stepped into the Mystique Venerable Realm. Although his origin power cultivation had broken through to level 6 Martial King Realm, it was still difficult for him to fight against Zhao Kun. In addition, in order to kill the 3 Martial King Realm experts of the Zhao clan, he had used up most of the Overlord's demonic mark in his body. He could not condense the Overlord's demonic mark in a short period of time. His strength was not at its peak. Although his strength was constantly increasing, Fei Ren still knew his limits. Even at his peak, he was no match for Zhao Kun, let alone when he had lost the power of the Overlord's demonic mark. Little B asterisk starred. I'm going to tear you to pieces. Glancing at the dense forest below, Zhao Kun saw the corpses of the 3 Zhao clan's martial artists on the ground and became even angrier. He immediately channeled endless origin power into his hands and instantly slapped out a huge origin power mountain, which suppressed Fei Run in the sky. As a Mystique Venerable Realm expert, although Zhao Kun's every move seemed ordinary, it contained traces of the power of law. Ordinary martial artists would not be able to withstand it. Yin-Yang Dao Technique. Reverse Yin-Yang. Faced with the incoming origin power mountain, Fei Ren's expression turned serious. He channeled all of his origin power, and a mysterious black and white light appeared in his palms. It was like the yin-yang diagram of the 8 trigrams of Tai Chi. He blasted it toward the origin power mountain. Bang! Rumble! Fei Ren felt a violent and powerful force coming from between his thumb and index finger, as if it was going to tear his body into pieces. In the next moment, he felt a sweet taste in his throat and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Although Fei Ren had the help of the yin-yang Dao technique and could neutralize most of the power of his opponent's attack, Zhao Kun's attack contained the power of law. Moreover, his opponent was a rank 3 Mystique Venerable Realm expert. It was impossible for him to withstand it. Boom! The origin power mountain exploded with a loud bang. Accompanied by a wave of aftershocks, Fei Ren's body fell into the dense forest behind him like a kite with a broken string. He then fell hard to the ground, the bones in his arms broken on the spot. He was severely injured. Divine Refining Cauldron. With another roar, Fei Ren summoned the Divine Refining Cauldron in his energy center. His eyes were bloodshot. Right now, even the yin-yang Dao technique was no match for Zhao Kun's power of law. He could only use his last trump card, which was to use the power of the Divine Refining Cauldron to tear open space and escape. Buzz! With a thought, the Divine Refining Cauldron appeared. The originally calm space suddenly changed. Then, a spatial crack that was several feet wide appeared out of thin air. The spatial crack was not big, and was just big enough for one person to enter and exit. Old bastard, I'll remember this. And the Zhao clan, just you wait. After spitting out another mouthful of blood, Fei Ren glared fiercely at Zhao Kun, who was in the sky. In the next moment, he ignored the serious injuries on his body and endured the pain of his broken arms. His body flashed and disappeared into the spatial crack. Chapter 635. This. Fei Rin's body sank into the spatial crack. Feeling the spatial turbulence around him, he felt a splitting headache. He sucked in a breath of cold air, and the wounds on his body worsened. Although the immortal refining cauldron could tear space and help him escape, compared to the traditional teleportation array, the immortal refining cauldron's ability was more domineering. It directly threw the host into a spatial turbulence, with a risk of death at any time, and there was no fixed location. If Zhao Kun had not forced him into a corner, Fei Rin would not have used the refining divine cauldron's ability. Then again, compared to dying in the hands of Zhao Kun, he would rather die in the spatial turbulence. The latter would at least give him a chance of survival. In the sky above the forest, that little bee asterisk starred. What kind of treasure was that just now? It can tear through space? Seeing Fei Rin suddenly tear through space and disappear before his eyes, Zhao Kun's eyelids twitched. He was shocked. When Zhao Kun took out the refining divine cauldron and fled, he did not react in time. Otherwise, he could have stopped Fei Rin. As a rank 3 mystique venerable realm fighter, Zhao Kun believed that he could temporarily stop the spatial crack from closing. However, Fei Rin had escaped, and the spatial crack had completely closed. No matter how powerful he was, he could not find him. Little bee asterisk starred. Zhao Kun roared into the sky. He was furious, and his eyes were red. Not only did they not catch Fei Rin this time, but they had also lost a few Martial King realm fighters. Zhao Kun's heart was bleeding at the thought of this. At the same time, he was terrified. He knew very well that when he returned, he would be enraged and punished by Zhao Wuji. Northern Continent, Sky Burial Ancient Plains. This was an ancient wasteland in the Northern Continent. It was vast and boundless, and there were many demonic beasts roaming about. At the same time, it was one of the few lawless areas. There were no rules and order, and it was filled with killing and disputes. The martial artists and rogue cultivators who came and went to the Sky Burial Ancient Plains only believed in the primitive law of the jungle. The winner was king. It was rumored that tens of thousands of years ago, many Emperor realm experts of the human race were buried here. There was no lack of legendary immortal corpses. The scene was grand and magnificent, as if the gods had fallen. That was why it was called the Sky Burial Plain. However, these things were only recorded in ancient books. As for the specifics, not many people in the continent knew. I've finally escaped a calamity. Looking at the boundless Sky Burial Ancient Plain in front of him, Fei Rin coughed a few times, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. After a period of turbulence in the spatial turbulence, he finally escaped the pursuit of a level 3 mystique venerable realm expert, Zhao Kun. He was transported to another part of the Northern Continent, and it was a famous no-man's land, the Sky Burial Plains. Divine Immortal Cauldron, you've saved my life again, including the time when he escaped from Gale King Gu-Tu in the Heavenly Demon Mystic Realm. This was the second time Fei Rin had used the Divine Immortal Cauldron's spatial teleportation ability to escape. The Great Song Empire, the Zhao clan, just you wait. Thinking of this, Fei Rin clenched his fists again. He then took out a grade 9 elixir pill that he had refined himself from his spiritual ring and consumed it. At the same time, he secretly mobilized the power of the Yin-Yang Dao technique to slowly heal the severe injuries on his body. Even though his cultivation had reached level 6 Martial King realm, he was still far from satisfied. After all, as his strength continued to increase, the enemies he encountered would also become stronger. Among them was the Zhao clan, one of the 7 immortal clans. Fei Rin didn't know how strong the Zhao clan's foundation was. However, he could tell from the group of guards that followed Zhao Wuji. Even a level 3 mystique venerable realm expert like Zhao Kun could only be a small guard for him. This was enough to show the Zhao clan's strength. Within the Zhao clan, there was no lack of mysterious sage realm experts, and even the legendary emperor realm experts. Another hour passed. Under the double support of the grade 9 elixir pill and the Yin-Yang Dao technique, the injuries on Fei Rin's body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In a short while, all the wounds on his body had healed, leaving no trace behind. Even the broken bones in his arms were slowly healing. The yin-yang Dao technique could not only reverse yin and yang and neutralize most of the attacks, but could also completely heal the originally damaged body tissues. If it was not for the yin-yang Dao technique that neutralized most of Zhao Kuan's attacks, Fei Ren would not even have the chance to summon the divine refining cauldron. He would probably have been suppressed and killed on the spot. It was enough to show how powerful the yin-yang Dao technique was. It was not inferior to the divine cultivation method, records of the overlord of Western Chu, that he cultivated. After all the injuries on his body had healed, Fei Ren was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he began to condense the overlord's magewealth. After all, this was one of the important trump cards that he relied on to kill his enemies. As long as the number of overlord's magewealth stored in his dantian was enough, his strength would become stronger. He would not even need to fear a true mystique venerable realm expert. 30 overlord's magewealth. After a while, Fei Ren exhaled heavily, his face full of emotions. As his origin power cultivation had broken through to LV6 Martial King realm, the number of overlord's magewealth that he could condense had increased to a total of 30. He was confident that even an LV1 Mystique Venerable Realm expert would not be able to withstand the full power of 30 Overlord's Magewealth. He might even be able to contend with an LV2 Mystique Venerable Realm expert. Aside from that, perhaps due to the stimulation from the life and death crisis, his yin-yang Dao technique had also successfully broken through to the complete realm. He was only one step away from the next level of the power of law. However, the power of law was very ethereal and mysterious. Even an expert above the mystique venerable realm would only have a slight chance of comprehending it. For example, the Zhao clan expert Zhao Kuan who had chased after him earlier. Therefore, Fei Ren was not in a hurry to cultivate the yin-yang Dao technique. Even if the yin-yang Dao technique was at the complete realm, it would still be able to play a huge role. It's time to leave. After finishing his cultivation, Fei Ren flew into the sky not far away. There were many cities of various sizes in the sky burial ancient plains. Among them, the closest city to him was called Thunder City. It was located about 1,000 miles northwest of where he was. As the sky burial ancient plains was a lawless and chaotic area, very few sects and clans would settle down here. Therefore, there was no order in these cities. Everything depended on the size of one's fist. Killings and conflicts could be seen everywhere on streets. Whoever was strong enough could rule the entire city. Right now, Thunder City was ruled by a LV6 Mystique Venerable Realm expert named Troy. Not only was he powerful, but he was also well-versed in the power of Law of Lightning. He was also quite famous in the cities near the Sky Burial Ancient Plains. He was known as the Wild Thunder Venerable. Fei Ren planned to find a place to rest and reorganize. His destination was Thunder City, which was ruled by the Wild Thunder Venerable Troy. Chapter 636. Thunder City was about 1,000 miles away from here. With Fei Ren's current strength, he could arrive in less than half an hour. So, this is Thunder City? It is indeed a lawless area. Ordinary warriors would only die if they come here. Arriving at the foot of the Thunder City, Fei Ren raised his head and looked up. He could see that the entire sky above the city was filled with an ominous aura that was close to materialization. It was as if a cloud dragon was dancing in the sky, and at the same time, it enveloped the entire Thunder City. Such a dense, murderous aura could only be condensed through countless battles and the accumulation of human blood. From this, it could be seen that the chaos and disorder within Thunder City, as well as the conflicts and killings, were not just for show. Kid, hand over the treasures in your hands, or die. As soon as Fei Ren stepped into the city, several fierce-looking warriors jumped out from both sides of the road. These people seemed to be rogue cultivators who relied on robbing all year round. The leader of the group was a bald man with a deep scar at the corner of his eye, giving off a threatening, baleful aura. Robbers? Fei Ren slowly came to a stop and scanned his surroundings. There were not many people, only about 4 or 5 of them. The strongest among them was the bald man, whose cultivation had reached LV3 Martial King realm. As for the warriors beside him, their strength was slightly weaker. They were only at LV1 Martial King realm. It seemed that they had just broken through, and their auras were not stable yet. Each of them was holding a mace, a big hammer, and other fancy weapons. In the eyes of the bald man and the others, Faerun in front of them was young, and his aura was not strong. There was a high probability that he was a young disciple of some family who went out to train. He was easy to deal with, and must have brought many treasures with him. Thus, they had set their sights on the other party. "Kid, are you deaf? Did you not hear what our boss said? Hand over the treasures on you, and we can leave your corpse intact." Seeing that Faerun was still standing in the same place and did not move, one of the warriors hooted with a fierce tone. "You want the treasures on me?" Faerun's eyes turned cold as he looked at this warrior. A looming, endless killing intent burst out from his body, covering the entire area like a killing intent domain. You want to resist? Our boss is a famous expert in Lay City. Brat, you're courting death. Sensing the terrifying killing intent fluctuations from the other party's body, the martial warriors trembled all over and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Even the hands that were tightly holding onto their weapons were trembling. What's going on? What am I afraid of? This brat was definitely pretending to be mysterious. He didn't have any strength at all. Killing him would allow him to snatch the treasure. Forcing himself to calm down, the martial artist's face flickered. "Why didn't you say so earlier? I'll give you all my treasures." However, what made him even more surprised was that the killing intent in the surroundings suddenly disappeared, and Faerun actually gave up resisting. Then he shrugged and threw out the spirit ring in his hand. So straightforward. Seeing this scene, everyone, including the bald man, was stunned. The few of them had been raiding houses and robbing houses in the vicinity of Thunder City for so many years. Although they had always targeted the weaker ones, but they had always been met with desperate resistance. However, it was the first time that they had seen someone like Faerun who had directly surrendered. "Boss, is this brat a fish or an idiot? He actually cooperated with us." Picking up the spirit ring that had fallen on the ground, another warrior, who was also holding a large saber, came to the bald man's side and whispered into his ear. "Who knows? This brat probably came to the Sky Burial Ancient Plane for the first time. He still doesn't know how cruel and dangerous this place is." The bald man sneered and said thoughtfully. After being stunned for a moment, the martial warrior asked again, "Boss, are we still going to kill him?" "Cut the crap. Of course we're going to kill him. Don't you know the rules of Lay City? The strongest is the king." Glancing at his subordinate, the bald man was speechless. "How many times have I told you, idiots? If you don't kill him today, someone else will come and kill you tomorrow. So that's how it is. Boss is wise." The martial warriors looked at each other and then cupped their hands at the bald man. "Brat, remember not to come to the Sky Burial Ancient Plane for no reason." After scolding his subordinates, the bald man flipped his palm and took out a 3-foot-long beheading knife from the spirit ring on his finger. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. In his opinion, with his level 3 Martial King cultivation, it would take him less than a breath to chop off Faerun's head. "Wait, don't you want to see what's in the spirit ring?" Suddenly, Faerun grinned, which made the bald man stop in his tracks. "What?" The bald man was puzzled. Just as he was about to speak, a few exasperated voices came from behind him. "Boss, we were fooled by this brat. Motherf asterisk her. There's nothing in this spirit ring. It's just an empty high-grade spirit ring. It's not worth much." Looking at the faint smile on Faerun's face, the bald man realized that Faerun did not intend to listen to him from the beginning. He was just fooling him. "Brat, how dare you fool me?" Enraged, the bald man's figure also shot out explosively, holding a large beheading knife in his hand as he slashed towards Faerun. The attack was aimed at Ding Hao's head. Swoosh! However, out of the bald man's expectation, Faerun's figure suddenly disappeared from where he stood, dodging his attack. In the next moment, a few miserable howls sounded from behind him. His subordinates also fell in response. Blood splattered in all directions. One by one, they fell into a pool of blood. They did not have the slightest ability to resist. Level 6 Martial King Realm. The bald man finally knew Ding Hao's true strength. His expression changed drastically. Fei Ren had been pretending to be weak all this time. He thought Ding Hao was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. He did not expect himself to be the real prey. If you don't want to die, you'd better stop resisting and listen to me. Fei Ren's cold voice sounded in his ears. In the next moment, the bald man felt a chill on his back. He could clearly feel that if he dared to make any small movements, the other party would be able to take his life within a second. Young hero, please spare my life. I don't dare to do that. I was blind before. Young hero is wise and powerful. Please don't argue with me. Let me go. With a plop, the bald man quickly knelt down and kowtowed. His face was covered with snot and tears. It was as if he wanted to rush up and treat Fei Ren as his father. All right, cut the crap. Wrinkling his eyebrows, Fei Ren's face turned cold. Soon after, he asked, "Let me ask you, is there any black market in Lei City? Is there an auction where one can quickly earn money?" This Thunder City is a lawless area. Due to the chaos, black markets and auctions are rare. The bald man fell into deep thought. Then he suddenly slapped his head. By the way, young hero, there's another place. Where? Raising his eyebrows, Fei Ren asked again. Thunder Arena, the bald man said. Chapter 637. The Thunder Arena? Fei Ren was stunned for a moment. He was somewhat surprised. He did not expect that a chaotic place like the Thunder City would have something like an arena. Moreover, according to the bald man, this Thunder Arena seemed to be a place where one could quickly earn money. Continue. Fei Ren asked again. Young hero, this Thunder Arena is the largest arena in the Thunder City. It is also known as the Bloody Meat Grinder. Every day, many martial artists would enter to earn money. However, many martial artists would also lose their lives inside. Not even their corpses were left. It is an extremely dangerous place. Although the Thunder Arena is extremely dangerous and cruel, it can also be said to be extremely profitable. There was once a mystique venerable rank expert who entered to fight in the arena. In the end, he was lucky enough to survive and even broke the record at that time. He earned 1 million high-grade primal stones in a day. The bald man swallowed his saliva and spoke in an uneasy tone. A hint of emotion could be vaguely seen on his face. He seemed to be rather envious. After all, this was 1 million high-grade primal stones and not mid-grade primal stones. Just these primal stones alone were enough to exchange for several heavenly spiritual treasures or even a rare, honorable spiritual treasure. Good boy, 1 million high-grade primal stones in a day. Hearing this, Fei Ren was also somewhat shocked. With so many high-grade primal stones, even he could not help but be envious. Although the Thunder Arena mentioned by the bald man was cruel, there was also a reason for it. With such a large piece of cake and such a huge profit, could it be that no forces or martial artists are coveting it? As if recalling something, Fei Ren asked again. At the same time, he raised his eyes to look at the bald man kneeling beside him. It was like this: the bald man kowtowed and said, Young hero, you are new here, so I'm afraid you don't know the situation in Thunder City. This Thunder Arena is also the territory of the Wild Thunder Venerable, Troy. The Wild Thunder Venerable is a godlike existence here, and is known as the strongest person in Thunder City. Therefore, even if the Thunder Arena is extremely profitable, not many people dare to cause trouble there, unless that person does not want to live anymore. So that's how it is. Fei Ren nodded, a look of realization dawning on his face. The Thunder Arena was the property of Venerable Wild Thunder, Troy. Troy was a rank 6 mystique Venerable Realm expert who had mastered the rare law of thunder. Even a rank 7 mystique Venerable Realm expert could not defeat him. So naturally, no one dared to challenge his authority. Scram! Fei Ren took all the treasures from the man's spirit ring. Then, he lifted his leg and kicked the bald man into a corner not far away. The bald man fainted on the spot. The other party's strength was too weak, so he didn't think highly of them and disdained to make a move. Right now, going to the Thunder Arena to earn money was his main goal. Thunder Arena, in front of the gate, the atmosphere is fiery. As the only arena in Thunder City, the number of people gathered here was unprecedented. Every day, there would be countless cultivators coming and going. "Senior, may I ask how I can sign up for the battle?" Faerun asked as he arrived at a window outside the gate. He saw a white-haired old man sitting quietly by the window. He was wearing a light green robe, and there were 2 rings of drunkenness on his cheeks. There was a small wine gourd on his waist, and he seemed to be an old drunkard. Although the green-robed old man looked no different from an old drunkard and had an ordinary aura, Faerun did not underestimate him. He knew very well that one could not judge a book by its cover. Since the old man was able to appear in the Thunder Arena, even if he was just guarding the gate, there was a high chance that he was not an ordinary person. "Kid, you want to stay alive and participate in the battle?" After shooting a glance at Faerun, the green-robed old man's beard puffed up as he laughed in a strange manner. "You look quite delicate and pretty. Furthermore, you are so young. This is not a place that you should come to. You should raise your strength first. Otherwise, you will lose your life." In response to the green-robed old man's advice, Faerun's expression turned sluggish. Soon after, he smiled and said, "If this is the Thunder Arena, it means that I did not come to the wrong place. There were many people who wanted to kill me in the past, but these people all turned into bones in a grave in the end. Good kid." Hearing these words, the green-robed old man's eyebrows slightly raised. He then opened his mouth and said in an indifferent voice, "Kid, you are quite confident. Don't blame this old man for not reminding you. It is very simple to sign up for the battle. You only need to pay 10,000 high-grade yuan stones." 10,000 high-grade yuan stones? Hearing these words, Faerun was stunned for a moment. Seeing this scene, the green-robed old man was astonished. He asked again, "Why? Did no one tell you about the rules of the Thunder Arena? Regardless of who participates in the battle, they have to pay 10,000 high-grade yuan stones as the fee." "Damn, that baldy did not tell me that I have to pay 10,000 high-grade yuan stones to sign up." His expression was somewhat awkward, as Faerun secretly said in his heart. At the moment, he did not have that many yuan stones on hand, let alone high-grade yuan stones. Even after robbing the baldy and the rest, it was still far from enough. "There is no other way. Let's try this." Gritting his teeth, Faerun made up his mind. Soon after, he took out an iron green lotus lantern from his spirit ring and handed it to the green-robed old man at the window. "Elder, do you think this thing is worth 10,000 high-grade yuan stones?" This item was the Heavenly Dragon Lotus Lantern that Guan Sheng of the Heavenly Dragon sect had given to him in the ancestral tomb. All along, he had kept it in his spirit ring to collect dust. Now, he could only take it out as collateral. This is, looking at the Heavenly Dragon Lotus Lantern in front of him, the green-robed old man was stunned for a moment. Soon after, surprise flashed across his eyes, and his expression returned to normal. He opened his mouth and said, "Kid, where did you get this thing?" "A friend gave it to me." Seeing that the green-robed old man did not mind, Faerun also grinned and opened his mouth to say, as long as he could enter the arena and participate in the battle, he was confident that he could quickly earn back the Heavenly Dragon Lotus Lantern with interest. 10,000 high-grade yuan stones was not a problem. Sure, you should be clear about the rules of the Thunder Arena, right? Regardless of life or death, you have to win at least 3 matches in a row to obtain the reward. There is no limit to the number of battles. Nodding his head again, the green-robed old man said in a deep voice. Soon after, he handed over a token. Faerun's name was engraved on it. "Many thanks." Reaching out to receive the token, Faerun cupped his hands and left. Just after he left, the green-robed old man also slowly stood up. His gaze looked at the other party's back and was slightly surprised. "It is actually the Heavenly Dragon Lotus Lantern. Strange, where did this kid get it from? The first battle of the Thunder Arena began very quickly. After going up the stage, Feyrin discovered that a black-robed old man was standing not far away from him. It seemed that he had been waiting for him for a long time. The black-robed old man was his opponent. Moreover, his background was not small. Although his appearance was not outstanding, and he was an old man with a blind left eye, his Yuan power cultivation had reached level 5 Martial King. He was not weak and was nicknamed the One-Eyed Old Man. Until now, this one-eyed old man had already won 2 matches in a row. As long as he defeated Feyrin, he would be able to obtain the reward and leave. Chapter 638. Thunder Arena on the battle stage. Kakik, a little kid who hasn't even grown out his hair, dares to come here to die. Looking at the young Feyrin opposite him, the one-eyed old man let out a strange laugh. His turbid eyes were filled with disdain. He was a LV5 Martial King. On the other hand, Feyrin opposite him was only in his early 20s. His strength was at most LV1 Martial King, perhaps not even Martial King. Therefore, he did not take his opponent seriously. In the one-eyed old man's eyes, Feyrin was here to deliver food to him. He could easily take 3 consecutive victories, take the money, and leave. This young man is also here to fight in the arena. He's so young. Could he be a genius from some sect or family? What's the use of being a genius? He's just a flower in a greenhouse. The one-eyed old man is a ruthless character who kills without batting an eye. Countless so-called geniuses have died at his hands. Like the one-eyed old man, the other spectators in the Thunder Arena were also surprised. They did not have high hopes for Feyrin either. This kid would probably die a horrible death. Some of the spectators shook their heads with pity in their eyes. Old man, cut the crap. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't, then get lost. Don't tell me you're afraid of me? Facing the one-eyed old man's disdain, Feyrin did not take it seriously. He also mocked him. Since the other party was acting so arrogantly, he would let the other party see who was more arrogant. This was a provocation. Little bastard, don't be so arrogant. As expected, the one-eyed old man was quickly fooled. He immediately glared at Feyrin with his face flushed red. It was as if he would rush up and tear apart Feyrin's mouth in the next moment. This kid still dares to spout such arrogant words. Does he really want to die? Seeing this scene, the spectators had strange expressions. They did not understand why the other party was deliberately provoking the one-eyed old man. Anti-birth. The one-eyed old man suddenly stretched out his hands. In the next moment, he waved his sleeves lightly and summoned a large number of black crawling insects. The black crawling insects gathered together, densely packed together like a turbid, sticky substance. It looked very disgusting. It's the ant-tide technique, the one-eyed old man's specialty, one of the spectators exclaimed. He seemed to recognize the origin of this move. Ant-tide technique? What kind of technique is this? It's disgusting. Feyrin's face was filled with surprise. Die, kid, die. However, before he could recover from his shock, the one-eyed old man had controlled the dense mass of black-colored crawling insects to attack him. They were like an army of ants that had entered the territory, and they emitted ear-piercing sounds of fluctuation as their attacks were swift and violent. Glaze fire. With a thought, countless pink flames instantly gushed out from his dantian. The next moment, under Feyrin's instructions, they also swept toward the dense swarm of insects. Boom! The wind helped the fire. The spiritual fire started a prairie fire. In just a few breaths, the originally menacing insect swarm was defeated like a tide. They were all burned by the glaze fire. A portion of the roasted black crawling insects fell to the ground, emitting a strange burnt smell. They could not withstand a single blow. Insects were afraid of fire. Moreover, the one-eyed old man's cultivation was lower than Feyrin's. Therefore, the black crawling insect's lethality was greatly reduced. They could not do anything to him. What? How is this possible? Seeing that Feyrin easily neutralized his insect attack, the one-eyed old man's face was filled with shock. Although his cultivation was at level 5 Martial King realm, his strength was somewhat exaggerated. This was because his skills were all based on these black crawling insects. If this move could not do anything to his opponent, then he was basically dead. You're just an old man who plays with crawling insects. I thought you had some skills. 3 strange purple lines appeared on his cheeks. After defeating the attack of the insect swarm, Fei Ren took advantage of the opportunity to pursue and attack. He took a big stride forward and arrived in front of the one-eyed old man. Overlord Soaring Sky. Fei Ren's face was serious. Then he clasped his hands together and formed a combination fist force. A heavy blow landed on the one-eyed old man's chin. Bang! With a loud bang, the one-eyed old man also let out a scream. His teeth were mixed with blood and his chin was dislocated. At the same time, his whole body flew into the sky like a spiral rocket. It took him a long time to land on the ground. This combination fist force was extraordinary. Although Fei Ren did not use his full strength, it was mixed with the power of 3 Overlord demonic marks. The one-eyed old man in front of him was only at level 5 Martial King realm. Naturally, it was difficult for him to resist. Having said that, Fei Ren deliberately held back his strength. After all, this was only the first battle. In order to get more consecutive victories and rewards, he would have to face stronger enemies in the future. On the fighting ring, what a powerful kid! His body fell heavily to the ground. The one-eyed old man said a sentence in a trembling voice. Then he spat out a mouthful of old blood and fell to the ground dead. Seeing this scene, the Thunder Arena was silent at first. Then there was a burst of cheers. Good fight, kid. What's the name of this challenger? Powerful. Even the one-eyed old man who plays with insects is no match for him. An unfamiliar face. He seems to be a newcomer. Looks like there's another newcomer. I wonder if he can break the record left by Master Ku Wu. I'm looking forward to it. Although the crowd had different expressions, Fei Ren could see that these spectators were very excited. They were like the nobles and rich merchants in the Colosseum. They only wanted to watch the most primitive killing and confrontation to their heart's content. The Thunder Arena is indeed not a place for ordinary people. Not only are there no rules here, but human lives are also worthless. Feeling the tsunami-like cheers from all around the arena, Fei Ren couldn't help but feel his blood boil. However, after a short moment of excitement, he calmed down again. Although the Thunder Arena did not care about life and death, everything was based on strength. However, he did not come here purely to kill people, nor to enjoy the cheers of tens of thousands of people. He only came here for the generous rewards, nothing more. After all, in order to raise the registration fee, he even pawned the Heavenly Dragon Lotus Lamp in his hand. Back then, Guan Sheng of the Dragon Sect had mentioned to him that this item was very precious and related to the past secrets of the Dragon Sect. In the future, Fei Ren would definitely have to redeem it. In the sky above the Thunder Arena, a green-robed old man stood in the clouds, looking down at the ground below. Fei Ren, a familiar face and name. Moreover, he has the Heavenly Dragon Lotus Lamp in his hand. Could it be that he is his son? Suddenly thinking of something, the green-robed old man's face was slightly surprised. Then it turned solemn. The first round went very smoothly. Soon, Fei Ren's opponent for the next round also came onto the stage. The opponent was a tall young man. His Yuan power cultivation was neither high nor low. It was similar to the one-eyed old man from before, around the 5th level of the Martial King realm. Scram! Without even looking at his opponent, Fei Ren punched out again. In an instant, the tall young man was blasted out of the arena. He spat out blood and fainted on the spot. In a short while, Fei Ren's record reached an astonishing 5 consecutive victories. Moreover, without exception, he defeated his opponent with a single punch. Chapter 639. Oh my god, this kid has already won 5 times in a row. Is he going to keep winning and break Master Ku Wu's record? That can't be. Master Ku Wu is that lord's subordinate and is known as the strongest person below the Mystique Sovereign Realm. Seeing Fei Ren's crazy winning streak on the martial stage, The crowd of spectating martial artists in the Thunder Arena all stared with wide eyes, their faces filled with shock. Now, everyone understood that they had greatly underestimated Fei Ren's strength from the beginning. Although he was young, he was a true genius. Another 30 minutes passed. He won again, and his opponent is a level 8 martial king. This kid has already won 9 times in a row. A rogue cultivator said in shock. Just as he spoke, Fei Ren, who was in the fighting ring, attacked again. He kicked away a veteran expert of the LV8 martial king realm. His opponent did not even have the strength to resist before he vomited blood and was defeated. Swoosh! Just as everyone was in shock, a figure appeared out of thin air and landed steadily opposite Fei Ren. The newcomer was a middle-aged man in a black robe. The yuan power around him was strong and had reached level 10 martial king realm. Master Ku Wu. Seeing the newcomer, everyone's faces froze. Then, they raised their arms and cheered. The atmosphere in the Thunder Arena reached a climax, as if the flames of battle had been ignited. Are you my next opponent? Fei Ren looked calm as he raised his head to look at the middle-aged man in a black robe. If he was not mistaken, his opponent was Master Ku Wu, the current record holder of the Thunder Arena. As long as he defeated him, he would win 10 times in a row. According to the rules of the Thunder Arena, the reward for winning 10 times in a row was 500,000 upper-grade primordial stones, which was 50 times more than the registration fee. It was a huge sum. Therefore, he naturally could not miss it. The middle-aged man in a black robe was silent. White light flashed in his hands, and he took out a pair of huge black hammers from his spirit ring. Grade 7 spiritual treasure? What do you mean? Are you looking down on me? Glancing at the pair of black iron hammers, Fei Ren revealed a sinister smile. The pair of black iron hammers in his opponent's hands were extremely ordinary. They were just ordinary Tier 7 spirit treasures. For a martial king realm battle, this level of spiritual treasure was too weak to be used on the stage, let alone injure others. Nothing much. It's just that you have to lose this battle. Master Ku Wu was expressionless. In the eyes of outsiders, he was the record holder of the Thunder Arena. No one below Mystique, Venerable rank could defeat him. However, other than this title, he was also the subordinate of the current ruler of Thunder City, the violent Thunder Venerable Troy. In order to ensure that the Thunder Arena could reap huge profits every day without suffering any major losses, he would personally stop or even kill any powerful challengers that came along. In doing so, he could interrupt his opponent's winning streak. Now, facing Fei Ren, who was about to achieve 10 consecutive victories, Master Ku Wu naturally couldn't sit still. You don't want me to win? If you can do it, you can try. Fei Ren grinned. I'm happy to accompany you. As his voice fell, Master Ku Wu's figure flashed and instantly disappeared from the spot. So fast, slightly surprised, Fei Ren also subconsciously circulated the origin power around his body and blasted out a few origin power palm strikes. Although his opponent was arrogant, he did have the strength. In terms of speed, Master Ku Wu was even faster than him. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, the black iron hammers came from the left and right, and then fiercely collided with the origin power palm strikes. In the next moment, the origin power palm strikes were all destroyed, and the black iron hammers also cracked and turned into fragments on the ground. At first glance, this battle seemed to be a draw. However, Fei Ren wasn't happy at all. He knew that his opponent hadn't shown his true strength yet. Moreover, the pair of black iron hammers was only a Tier 7 spirit treasure. Its value wasn't high. In the eyes of some martial kings, it was just an ordinary weapon. It's not over yet. On the side, a deep male voice sounded. However, Master Ku Wu still didn't appear. What followed was only a sharp black arrow. Swoosh! The black arrow pierced through the air, bringing with it an ear-piercing sound of tearing cloth. Billowing black flames could be faintly seen on the arrowhead, making it even more powerful. Overlord Sweep. Facing the sneak attack, Fei Ren also let out a roar. Soon after, several Overlord's magic patterns were released from his body. Wisps of dense purple gas wrapped around his fists, and with another heavy punch, he deflected the incoming black arrow, producing a crisp sound of metal clashing against metal. Clang, clang, clang. The black arrow was swept away by the fist and fell to the side. The black flames, rising from the arrow head, slowly dissipated. However, at this time, Fei Ren's face sank and his expression was solemn. There were several bloody marks on his fists. At the same time, traces of black blood dripped down as if it was contaminated with some kind of poison. Damn it, there's poison on it? Feeling the poison gradually corroding into his body, Fei Ren gritted his teeth and intended to circulate his origin power to force out the poison. Although his physique was very strong, if the poison penetrated into his meridians and dantian, it would still be troublesome. It might even affect his combat strength. The last blow. However, at this time, Master Ku Wu appeared again. Then, he made a gesture with both hands and immediately summoned a huge scroll from the spirit ring. Secret Art Sky Blade Chaos. The next moment, Master Ku Wu slammed his palm on the ground. Then, the huge scroll flashed with white light and instantly shot out countless rainstorm pear blossom needles. It was like a rain of arrows falling from the sky, falling towards Fei Ren. Damn it, how many weapons does this guy have? Fei Ren's face changed slightly. The next moment, the power of Yin and Yang Dao art was released instantly. Then, it turned into a black and white Tai Chi pattern, protecting his whole body. At the same time, it blocked all the rainstorm pear blossom needles, making a crisp sound of silver and iron colliding. However, just when Fei Ren was about to breathe a sigh of relief, the follow-up attack came one after another. In front of Master Ku Wu, there were two more huge scrolls. Then, countless weapons and spiritual treasures flew, like artillery fire pouring down on the earth. The next moment, Fei Ren's figure was also drowned by a large number of weapons and spiritual treasures. The entire battle stage fell into chaos. Is it over? Who's the winner? Not only has Master Ku Wu's cultivation reached LV-10 Martial King realm, but he also has countless weapons and spiritual treasures in his hands. This Fei Ren should be no match for him. This kid is also powerful. He can even force Master Ku Wu to use his strongest attack. If he can survive this battle, he can brag about it in the future. Seeing this scene, the spectators were shocked. Countless eyes looked over, as if they wanted to know the final result. Chapter 640. On the stage, Master Ku Wu looked nervous. Skyblade Chaos is my unique secret technique. With a large number of weapons and spiritual treasures, even a half-step mystique venerable realm expert can't resist it. Just now, this kid took 3 of my Skyblade Chaos head-on. He should be dead for sure. Under the gaze of Master Ku Wu and the crowd, the dust on the stage slowly dispersed, and the next moment, a figure appeared. At this time, although Fei Ren was in a sorry state, with his clothes in tatters and injuries, he did not completely fall down. How can this kid be alive? Seeing this scene, Master Ku Wu's expression changed greatly. In his view, Fei Ren was just a LV-6 Martial King realm expert. It was impossible for him to block his strongest attack. It seems that I've disappointed you. I'm not dead. Reaching out to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, Fei Ren's face revealed a strange smile. Indeed, the opponent's attack was not ordinary. An ordinary Martial King realm expert could not resist it. If it were not for the power of the Yin-Yang Dao technique and the Overlord's demonic mark, he would have been defeated and killed by Master Ku Wu. However, the situation had reversed. His opponent had used all his strength and still could not kill him. It was finally his turn to launch a counterattack. Damn it, I can only use Skyblade Chaos one more time. Even if I have to sacrifice my life, I can't let Master Troy's interests be harmed. Master Ku Wu's face was as gloomy as a pool of stagnant water. The next moment, he clenched his fists and summoned a huge scroll from his spiritual ring. Now, there was not much origin energy left in his dantian. He could not use the secret technique Skyblade Chaos unless he consumed his life force to use it. Now, in order to prevent Fei Run from achieving 10 consecutive victories, he could only sacrifice his life force. This move again, seeing his opponent's move, Fei Ren's face turned cold. Although Master Ku Wu's Sky Blade Chaos consumed a lot of weapons, spiritual treasures, and origin energy each time he used it, its power was indeed amazing. It had left a shadow in his heart and made him afraid. Stop it. Kanai has had enough. Suddenly, just as Master Ku Wu was about to make a move, another deep and old voice exploded in his mind. It seemed to be some kind of high-level telepathy. My lord, you. Hearing this, Master Ku Wu was stunned for a moment, and the movement of his hand suddenly stopped. The source of the voice was none other than his master, the current controller of the Thunder Arena, Venerable Wild Thunder Troy. This kid is very interesting. Let him win. Moreover, you have already used all of your strength. Even if you consume your lifespan to perform the Skyblade Chaos, you will only be able to fight to a draw with this kid. For a mere 500,000 upper-grade primordial stones, you don't have to. The elderly voice rang out in his mind once again. In the next instant, Master Ku Wu let out a long sigh and kept the giant scroll in his hand. He looked at Fei Run and said, Brat, I admit defeat for this battle. You win. Since his master, Troy, had already spoken, he had to obey. This was also Master Ku Wu's way of repaying Troy's kindness. About 10 years ago, when he first stepped into Thunder City, he encountered a life and death crisis. In the end, it was Venerable Wild Thunder Troy who saved him and took him in as a subordinate. At the same time, he taught him various unique skills, including his famous unique skill, secret skill, Skyblade Chaos. What's wrong with this guy? Seeing Master Ku Wu suddenly admit defeat, Fei Run was also surprised. He was very clear in his heart that the other party still had the strength to fight. Moreover, he was quite injured. If this battle continued, it was hard to say whether he could win or not. Kid, you're quite lucky. Ignoring Fei Ren's question, Master Ku Wu took a deep look at Fei Run, as if he wanted to know why the other party would attract the attention of Venerable Wild Thunder Troy. The next moment, he turned into an afterimage and left. He really won. This Fei Run defeated Master Ku Wu. A new record holder has been born. At this moment, following Master Ku Wu's departure, the entire Thunder Arena fell into a carnival. The atmosphere instantly reached a climax. Everywhere, people were calling out Fei Ren's name. Among them, there was no lack of beautiful female martial artists. The grand scene was comparable to a celebrity on TV. Forget it. I've got the Yuan stones anyway. Hearing the shouts and cheers coming from all around, Fei Ren did not think too much about it, and also left the arena. After all, it was too noisy here. Moreover, he did not want to attract too much attention to avoid attracting trouble. Thunder Arena, in a pavilion. Fei Ren was still quietly waiting for the staff of the arena to deliver the 500,000 upper-grade primordial stones that belonged to him. Suddenly, a strong wind whistled past. The next moment, a green-robed old man appeared out of thin air with a smile on his face. Senior, turning his head to look at the person, Fei Run was a little surprised. The other party was the green-robed old man who was guarding the entrance of the Thunder Arena. Kid, you're surprised, aren't you? Actually, you don't have to be. With the same kind of people, the green-robed old man gently stroked his long beard and faintly smiled. The same kind of people. Fei Ren was stunned for a moment and did not reply. Seeing this scene, the green-robed old man opened his mouth again. This old man is called Troy, the violent lightning venerable that you all speak of. In addition, this old man has an unknown identity that is one of the 10 great punishment elders of the dragon sect. Senior, you're also a member of the dragon sect. Hearing this, Fei Ren's face was shocked. He never thought that he would meet a member of the dragon sect in the chaotic sky burial ancient plains. Moreover, it was a high-ranking member of the dragon sect. The 10 great punishment elders of the dragon sect had a status above the 5 captains. Back then, Guansheng once said that after the unforeseen event 30 years ago, the dragon sect became an evil force that everyone on the continent hated. Indeed, other than the chaotic sky burial ancient plains, there was no place for the dragon sect members to stay. Suddenly thinking of something, Fei Ren fell into silence. If Troy was already like this, then his biological parents, whom he had never met, were also high-ranking members of the dragon sect. Naturally, their fates were not any better. Even now, he did not know whether they were still alive or not. That's right, this old man is also a member of the dragon sect. After the earth-shattering battle 30 years ago, the sect leader went missing and the dragon sect also suffered heavy losses. Under the siege of many first-grade forces on the continent, countless experts fell and blood flowed like rivers. This old man has never forgotten these scenes of the past, and dare not forget. Troy sighed and shook his head. Although he wanted to return to the dragon sect and help it recover, the dragon sect was now leaderless. Without the leadership of the sect leader and the heavenly king, only the dragon king and a group of remnants were left. It would be difficult for them to return to their peak in a short period of time. The dragon sect is now an arrow at the end of its flight. Fei Ren secretly clenches fists, feeling a little powerless. Because if he wanted to avenge his parents, he would have to face the first-grade forces on the continent. In fact, the sect's foundation is still there. According to the information this old man has collected over the years, other than the sect leader who went missing, the other experts of the demigods and dragons 8 are still alive and have gone into hiding. Troy shook his head and said meaningfully, "Don't worry, it's too late." The demigods and dragons 8? Fei Ren's face turned cold. He had heard Zhang Qingyang's remnant soul mention that the demigods and dragons 8 was the core of the dragon sect. It was made up of 8 powerful giants, each of whom was an existence that could dominate a region of the continent. Chapter 641. Yes, the demigods and 8 is the foundation of our sect. It gathers the top experts of the sect. The sect master is also one of them, known as the Heavenly King. Nodding, Troy stroked his beard and said, "In addition to the sect master and the Heavenly King, the demigods and 8 also includes the vice sect master, the Dragon King, Lord Serpent Maharaga, and other experts. Lord Serpent Maharaga." Fei Ren was stunned. He had heard a wisp of Zhang Qingyang's remnant soul mention this name before. It was very familiar. Back then, in the ancient tomb of the Dacha dynasty, the mysterious masked man Shinkong he met seemed to be a subordinate of Lord Serpent Maharaga. He was also a member of the Heavenly Dragon sect. Thinking back, if Zhang Qingyang's remnant soul had not repelled Shinkong back then, he might have been killed by the other party. "Little boy, you also know Lord Serpent Maharaga?" Although Lord Serpent Maharaga's character is not good, he is indeed a rare martial arts expert in the sect. Moreover, he is very loyal to the Heavenly Dragon sect and the sect master. Seeing Fei Ren's reaction, Troy turned his head and said meaningfully, "Senior, I don't know this person. I only heard of him by chance. Furthermore, given the strength of Serpent Lord Maruogia, how is it possible for him to have any interaction with a mere level 6 martial king?" Fei Ren shook his head and revealed a helpless smile. He knew almost nothing about the demigods and semi-devils. If Troy had not mentioned it, he would not have known that the Heavenly Dragon sect was so powerful at its peak. Even after being besieged by many first-grade forces on the continent, it still did not perish. That's not right. In fact, your status is not lower than Lord Serpent Maharaga. Looking at Fei Ren with a meaningful look, Troy continued, "Because you are the descendant of that lord, and that lord was the hero who revived our Heavenly Dragon sect. That lord, Senior, are you talking about?" Hearing this, Fei Ren was taken aback at first. Then his expression abruptly changed. His eyes stared fixedly at Troy. As one of the Heavenly Dragon sect's elders of punishment, perhaps Troy knew something about his parents. "That's right. Although more than 30 years have passed, I still haven't forgotten his appearance. He was the commander of the Heavenly Dragon sect, Fei Yuanzhou. Your appearance and face really resemble him. As for your personality and temperament, They are more similar to the adopted daughter of the Heavenly King, Lu Rulin, who is also your mother. With another sigh, Troy slowly explained. In fact, from the very beginning, he had some suspicions about Fei Rin's identity and background. It was only when the other party took out a heavenly dragon lotus flower lamp that he was convinced. The Fei Rin in front of him was the descendant of the commander of the heavenly dragon sect, Fei Yuanzhong. This was because the heavenly dragon lotus flower lamp was the exclusive keepsake of the 5 captains of the sect. It could be used to mobilize troops and was very important. And Fei Rin being able to obtain a heavenly dragon lotus flower lamp in his hands meant that he had obtained the approval of the 5 captains of the heavenly dragon sect. With the outstanding contributions that Fei Yuanzhong had made to the heavenly dragon sect, as the only son of the commander of the heavenly dragon sect, Fei Rin indeed had the qualifications to receive this preferential treatment. Fei Yuanzhong, Lu Rulin, these two are my parents. Fei Rin's face trembled slightly, and a white mist appeared in his eyes. After more than 20 years, he finally heard some news about his parents. Naturally, it was difficult for him to calm down. Yes, Troy nodded. Senior, are my parents also part of the Heavenly Dragonate? Fei Rin asked again, his face a little nervous. If his parents were also part of the Heavenly Dragonate, they might still be alive now. Little child, the Heavenly Dragonate are the sect leader, the Heavenly King, the vice sect leader, the Dragon King, the Serpent Monarch Maraga, the Gennaro Lansu, the Granny Yuer, the Yiksha Ji Yunji, the Garuda Ren Qingyun, and the last Azura Yin Hongli. Each of these 8 people is a powerful existence who has stepped into the Emperor realm. The might of the Emperor realm far surpasses that of the profound Saint realm. With a raise of their hand, they can shatter mountains and rivers, and even stir up the winds and clouds of the entire Black Star continent. Although your parents are very powerful and are not inferior to the Emperor realm, they are not members of the Heavenly Dragon 8. In the face of Fei Rin's inquiry, Troy shook his head and sighed. Senior, then where are my parents now? Actually, looking at Fei Rin again, Troy sighed and said, in that world-shaking battle 30 years ago, although Lord Fei Yuanzhong and Miss Lu were lucky to survive, something unexpected happened. About 20 years ago, not long after you were born, the Yiksha Ji Yunji and the Garuda Ren Qingyun of the Heavenly Dragonate were surrounded by the 3 great immortal clans and several first-grade forces of the continent. In order to help the 2 break out of the encirclement, Lord Fei Yuanzhong and Miss Lu volunteered to cover the retreat, and in the end, died on the battlefield. Although he was mentally prepared, Fei Rin still found it hard to accept the news of his parents' death from Troy. His face was ashen for a while, and his fists under his sleeves quietly clenched. His entire body trembled slightly. Who killed my parents? After a moment of silence, Fei Rin spoke again. His tone was low, and his killing intent was revealed. Little child, you have to think carefully. The enemies you will face are not weak. They're the first-grade forces of the continent, led by the 3 great immortal clans. Sensing the boundless killing intent suddenly surging out of Fei Rin, Troy's expression turned serious. Because of the other party's special identity, he would speak of the past. However, Fei Rin's strength was still weak at the moment. He did not want him to fight against the first-grade forces of the continent, let alone the 3 great immortal clans. I've thought it through very clearly, and that is revenge. Coldly speaking, Fei Rin's expression was resolute, and his killing intent did not waver at all. Back then, the 3 great immortal clans that participated in the siege of the Dragon Sect were the Zhao clan, the Han clan, and the Yin clan. As for the other 2 immortal clans, they adopted a neutral stance. They only sent a small number of mystique, venerable realm experts to put on a show, and did not launch a brutal pursuit of the Dragon Sect. As for the first-grade forces of the continent that followed the 3 great immortal clans as lackeys, there were many. Among them were the Tai Holy Sect, the 10,000 Sword Sect, and the Heavenly Holy Imperial Court. And these forces had all been included in Fei Rin's revenge list. Since you've thought it through, then as one of the 10 elders of the dragon sect, this old man will do his best to support you. Even if I die, I will have no regrets. There is no other reason other than that you are that person's son. Seeing this scene, Troy no longer tried to persuade him, and a trace of determination also appeared on his aged face. From today onwards, he had decided to follow Fei Ren to conquer the continent until the dragon sect's former glory was restored. Chapter 642. Senior Troy, thank you. After a long while, Fei Ren finally calmed down. His eyes were burning with the flames of revenge. He had already made up his mind. He would first use the Sky Burial Ancient Plains and Thunder City as his base of operations. He would then gradually expand his forces and cultivate to become stronger. He would revive the glory of the dragon sect and take revenge on the 3 great immortal tribes, the Tai Sacred Sect, the Thousand Swords Sect, and the Heavenly Holy Emperor Dynasty. The Black Star continent is going to change completely. Troy's face was solemn. Fei Ren was only a rank 6 martial king and had not even stepped into the mystique venerable realm. He was just a weak ant in the eyes of the 3 great immortal tribes and the many first-grade forces in the Black Star continent. However, Fei Ren had the capital to be young. Moreover, his talent and comprehension were far superior to ordinary martial artists. He was similar to Fei Yuanzhong and Lu Rulin back then. In Troy's opinion, as long as Fei Ren was given time to grow, he would definitely become an existence that could shake the entire Black Star continent in less than 30 years. He would be like the Dragon Sect's sect master, Li Songtian, who was known as the Heavenly King. Heavenly King, although I don't know where you are now, I can see the shadow of your youth in this boy. The day when our dragon sect returns to its former glory is not far away. At this moment, Troy's heart was filled with endless emotions. He could feel his blood boiling. At the same time, he could not help but recall the days when he fought a bloody battle with the Dragon Sect brothers. Sky Burial Ancient Plains, Thunder City. After hearing the news of his parents' death, Fei Ren did not fall into too much sorrow and depression. Instead, he turned the anger in his heart into motivation for cultivation. In addition, with the help of Troy, one of the former 10 great punishment elders of the Dragon Sect, Fei Ren's strength had also increased rapidly. In less than a year, he had broken through the cultivation shackles of Martial King and successfully stepped into Mystique Venerable rank. After entering the Mystique Venerable rank, Fei Ren had successfully condensed a fate chart in his body. Moreover, it was a special spatial fate chart that allowed him to control the power of time and space. The power of space-time was extremely powerful. Not only could it tear through the void at will, but it was also difficult for ordinary cultivators to resist. Some of the weaker cultivators would even be sucked into the turbulent flow of space by Fei Ren's power of space-time and be buried there. With the help of the power of space-time, the Overlord Mageweth, and the Yin-Yang Dao art, Fei Ren's reputation gradually spread throughout the entire Sky Burial Ancient Plane. He even became a powerhouse that couldn't be underestimated in the entire northern continent. Another 3 years passed, and Fei Ren's Yuan power cultivation had successfully broken through to rank 8 Mystique Venerable Realm. The Sky Burial Ancient Plains had gradually become the base for the revival of the Dragon Sect. A portion of the former members of the Dragon Sect had heard the news and had sought refuge under Fei Ren and Troy. This year, he was 25 years old. In the main hall of Thunder City, a group of Heavenly Dragon Sect's experts were gathered. Fei Ren, are you really going back to the Eastern Continent? Troy probed as he looked at Fei Ren, who was sitting on the main seat and wearing a light golden cloud robe. Now that a few years had passed, the other party was no longer a mere rank 6 Martial King Realm Jr. He was now a famous Mystique Venerable Realm expert in the Northern Continent. His cultivation had reached rank 8 Mystique Venerable Realm, and he was known as the Yin-Yang Venerable Fei Ren. Fei Ren nodded. The dignified aura of a superior arose spontaneously, mixed with a strong murderous aura. You should know that as our forces have been growing over the years, we have attracted the attention of the three major immortal clans led by the Zhao clan, as well as the first-grade forces of the continent. These people are all ambitious and will definitely not watch the dragon sect rise again. Also, I've received some information. The reason why they haven't made a move is not because they are afraid of us, but because they are being held back by the Dragon King and the other experts of the Heavenly Dragonate. Otherwise, the Sky Burial Ancient Plains would not be able to be defended. Troy said solemnly. Senior Troy, you're right, but I still have some matters to attend to personally. But don't worry, I'll be back soon. I won't let the Brothers of the Dragon sect wait for too long. Faerun glanced at Troy, then slowly got up and said firmly. Over the years, the Dragon sect under his command had been growing. Many martial artists and the old forces of the Dragon sect had come to join him after learning that he was the son of Fei Yuanzhong and the Heavenly King's adopted daughter, Lu Rulin. Soon, the experts of the Sky Burial Ancient Plains had gathered. At the same time, Faerun knew very well that the reason he was able to live freely without being targeted by the three major immortal clans and the first-grade forces of the continent was because of the Dragon King and the other members of the Heavenly Dragonate. Now, taking advantage of the fact that the three major immortal clans and the first-grade forces of the continent had no time to care about the Sky Burial Ancient Plains, he had to cut off the old grudges as soon as possible. Farewell, Lord Commander. Faerun turned and left. In the next moment, respectful voices came from the main hall of the main city. Now, as the son of Fei Yuanzhong, he naturally inherited the position of commander of the Dragon Sect and became a high-ranking member of the Dragon Sect. In addition, his mother was the Heavenly King's adopted daughter, Lu Rulin. Faerun's position in the Dragon Sect was even more stable. Eastern Continent, World Chamber of Commerce. Nicole, I'm back to marry you. I didn't forget the promise we made back then. Looking at the familiar capital of the great Ming dynasty, Faerun's determined face showed some tenderness, but in the next moment, it turned into a deep ruthlessness. The Yi clan and the Great Song Empire. Back then, in the Sky Dragon Mystery Land, these two forces had a deep grudge with Faerun. Among them, the Gale King Gutu from the Great Song Empire had almost killed him. Fortunately, the refining Immortal Cauldron had saved his life. Half a year. Faerun did not stay in the Eastern Continent for long, only half a year. However, in this short half a year, many legends about him were left in the Eastern Continent. He married the eldest daughter of the Shao clan of the World Chamber of Commerce, Shao Nicole, destroyed the Yi clan, killed the emperor of the Great Song Empire and a group of martial king guards, and completely changed the Great Song Empire. He personally went to the third-grade sect, the Clear Sea sect, and joined forces with Tang Shui, who was known as the Fairy of the Night Demons, to solve the internal conflict of the Clear Sea sect that had lasted for hundreds of years. In the end, Faerun got rid of his inner demons. At the same time, he used his sincerity and affection to move the cold and proud Fairy of the Night Demons, Tang Shui. From then on, the two of them became immortal couples. Even the famous Great Chu Empress Chu Qian, who unified the 5 countries of the Hongduan Mountains, had feelings for Faerun. For a time, the name and deeds of the Yin-Yang Venerable, Faerun, spread far and wide. Many martial artists on the continent were envious. Unknowingly, 100 years had passed. It was like a withered epiphyllum, like a dream. Faerun was also a nameless itinerant cultivator who walked out of the Sky Burial Ancient Plain. He gradually rose to the peak of the continent, the legendary Great Emperor Realm. Chapter 643. North Continent, Sky Burial Ancient Plains. Experts gathered, and the weather changed. Yin-Yang Emperor, your strength has now reached the peak of the continent, and the North Continent has fallen into the hands of our dragon sect. What do you plan to do next? A soft-looking man in a black robe stood in the air, then looked at Faerun in front of him and asked in a deep voice. The black-robed man was called Maharaja, and he was skilled in all kinds of assassination and surprise attacks. He was as cunning as a serpent, and was called Lord Serpent. At the same time, he was also the core force of the dragon sect, one of the 8 tribes of heavenly dragons. In front of Maharaja was Fei Run, a newly ascended emperor expert. Because he was proficient in the power of yin and yang law, he was also known as the yin-yang emperor. Although Fei Run was only a newly ascended great emperor, with the support of the yin and yang law, the immortal refining cauldron, and the power of time and space, his strength was not inferior to Maharaja's. He was even stronger than the former dragon sect leader, Li Tsangtian, who was known as the Heavenly King. Yin-yang Emperor, I think it's time for us to strike back and let the 3 great immortal tribes and those first-rate forces of the continent have a taste of our dragon sect men's vengeance and fury. The person who spoke was a black-skinned man with a bare upper body. He was also one of the 8 tribes of heavenly dragons, known as Garuda Runqingyan. He was also a great emperor expert. His feelings were the same as Fei Ren's. Back then, when the dragon sect was besieged by the 3 great immortal tribes and the first-rate forces of the continent, Ren Xingyun had a belly full of anger as he watched countless brothers and friends die tragically before his eyes. Brother Xingyun is right. Not only do I want to destroy the 3 great immortal tribes, but I also want those first-rate forces of the continent that besieged the dragon sect to disappear completely in the dust of history. Glancing at Maharaja and Garuda, Fei Run nodded, not hiding his monstrous killing intent in his words. A moment later, a powerful emperor aura and slaughter domain spread out, instantly enveloping more than half of the sky burial ancient plane. This caused the heavenly dragon sect experts, including Maharaja and Garuda, to tremble. Yin-yang Emperor Fei Ren's strength had far exceeded his imagination. He could even crush all the great emperors present. This kid, Fei Run, has already far surpassed Yuan Zhong from back then. In just a short 100 years, he has actually grown to such an extent. It truly makes one sigh. I wonder what kind of suffering and pain this kid has experienced. Above the 9th heaven, Li Tsangtian was dressed in a white robe. He gently stroked his long beard and had an emotional look on his face. Beside him stood a middle-aged man in a plain robe. The middle-aged man in plain robes had a long and narrow face, short ears, and a goatee. Although his appearance was somewhat unremarkable, his entire body exuded a formidable aura. He was the former deputy sect leader of the dragon sect, known as the Dragon King, Li Tsonglong. Big brother, Fei Yuan Zhong and Ruolan have a good son. Although the 2 of them are dead now, if they can see the heavenly dragon sect rise again in the underworld, they will definitely be relieved. Li Tsonglong nodded and sighed. Li Tsangtian was not only the sect leader of the heavenly dragon sect, but also his biological big brother. When Li Tsangtian was missing, he had bitterly supported the heavenly dragon sect in order to wait for Li Tsangtian to return and lead the sect to rise again. Now, he had never expected that in addition to Li Tsangtian's successful return, the heavenly dragon sect had produced such an outstanding talent like Fei Run. Seniors, now that the 3 armies have been reorganized, we can set off at any time. Fei Run also came to the 9th heaven and cupped his fists at Li Tsangtian and Li Tsonglong. Although his strength had long surpassed the 2 of them were his seniors and had given him a lot of help before he grew up. Therefore, Fei Run dared not forget this kindness and had always respected them. Let's go. Now that you are the commander of the heavenly dragon sect, Songlong and I are old. The future of the heavenly dragon sect depends on you. Looking at the imposing Fei Run, Li Tsangtian nodded again. Yes. After receiving Li Tsangtian's reply, Fei Run immediately returned to the troops and issued the mobilization order. Let's go. Destroy the 3 great immortal tribes of the mainland. After nearly 100 years of consolidation, the heavenly dragon sect had returned to its former peak. Not only had the sect leader returned, but the new commander of the heavenly dragon sect, Fei Run, had also successfully advanced to the emperor realm and replaced his father, Fei Yuanzhong, to become the famous yin-yang emperor of the mainland. Even if the three great immortal tribes were ancient, reclusive families of the mainland, they could not compete with the current heavenly dragon sect and Faerun. Xianstar mainland, the hinterland of the Zhao tribe. Mountains of corpses and seas of blood flowed like rivers. Above the clouds, Fei Rin's palm was stained with blood, and at the same time, he was holding a cold corpse. The corpse's face was black, and his eyes were white. It was the Emperor Realm Great Immortal Tribe's leader, Zhao Tianding. Although the Zhao tribe was one of the three Great Immortal Tribes and had immortals in the past, there were no immortals in the Zhao tribe today, only Zhao Tianding and a few other Emperor Realm Great Immortals. Now, all the Great Immortals of the Zhao tribe, including Zhao Tianding, had died in the hands of Faerun. Not long after, the Zhao tribe was destroyed, and the Han tribe and Yin tribe were not spared either. After destroying the three great immortal tribes, Faerun did not let go of the Tai sacred sect, Thousand Swords sect, and Tiansheng imperial court, who had besieged the heavenly dragon sect. These first-grade forces of the mainland were also wiped out, and there were not many experts above the martial king realm left. Faerun spent a full 3 years to avenge his parents' death, and led the new heavenly dragon sect to stand at the top of the Xianstar mainland again. The ancients said that it was lonely at the top. After becoming the top expert of the mainland, Faerun also felt the same, and he was not the only one who felt this. The immortal refining cauldron in his body felt the same. As time passed, the immortal refining cauldron's reaction became more and more intense, as if it was calling him to a certain place in the vast universe, where there was an existence he could not avoid, as if it was the guidance of fate. Ascend to the immortal world. Find the true secret of the immortal refining cauldron. Inside a palace in the heavenly dragon sect's headquarters. Husband, are you really going? Maybe there are no immortals in this world, and ascending to the immortal world is just a legend left behind by the 7 great immortal tribes. Looking at the determined Faerun, Tang Shui and Shao Nike were worried. Now that the Xianstar mainland had finally settled down, they did not want to see anything happen to Faerun, even though there was no one in the mainland who could hurt him. However, the 2 girls were still worried. Even so, if I don't see it with my own eyes, I won't be at ease. Faerun gestured to the 2 girls not to worry. He nodded again and comforted them. Hee, I say, sisters-in-law, you don't have to worry. This guy's life is tough, and he won't die so easily. Otherwise, he would have cheated in the forgotten Worry Valley back then, and wouldn't have become the Yin-Yang Emperor whose name shook the mainland. At this time, a playful woman's voice slowly came from outside the palace. The person who came was wearing a long purple dress, and her eyes were bright and spirited. The small cloth bag on her waist was filled with bulging herbs. It was Shun Lan, the daughter of the miracle doctor who had accidentally saved Fei Ren's life back then. Just like before, although Fei Ren had become the Yin-Yang Emperor, the strongest expert in the world, Shun Lan still treated him like an old friend, without any deliberate intention. Chapter 644. Miss Shun, are you here to visit me? Seeing that it was Shun Lan, Fei Run grinned as memories of the past surfaced in his mind. Back then, he was just a mere body refinement realm martial artist in Wuhan Town. If she had not saved him, perhaps he would not be who he was today, the strongest person in the Black Star continent, the Yin-Yang Emperor Fei Ren. Visit you? Stop being so smug. I'm here to visit my 2 sisters-in-law. Recently, I've come up with some new pills. Not only can it increase the firmness and smoothness of the skin, but it can also keep one's youth forever. Rolling her eyes at Fei Run, Shenlan then walked over to Tang Xue and Xiao Nicole. In the next moment, Shenlan took out a glass bottle from the small cloth bag at her waist. There were a few small pills that were as white as jade lying quietly in the bottle. Sisters, this pill is called the Detoxification Beauty Pill. It's an Emperor-grade pill. I spent a lot of effort to refine these few pills. They're very precious. Shenlan stuck out her tongue and smiled. Oh, really? Then I'll give it a try. I've heard that Sister Shun's alchemy skills are superb. Even my husband is not as good as you. That's great. I'll give it a try too. Tang Xue and Xiao Nicole looked at each other. In the next moment, they smiled like flowers. They quickly went up and held Shun Lan's hand. Damn, what do you mean even I'm not as good as you? I'm a heaven-grade alchemist, after all. Although compared to Shun Lan, I'm a little trash. At the side, Fei Rin's expression was awkward. Sigh women. With another sigh, Fei Rin turned around and left quietly. Tang Xue, Nicole, and Shun Lan were left there chattering. Although he wanted to immerse himself in the land of women, he had more important things to do. Otherwise, the uneasiness in his heart would never disappear. Black Star Continent, Imperial Bestowment Steel. This was the highest peak in the entire continent. There was an ancient tablet at the peak that had been passed down since ancient times. It recorded the deeds of many Emperor Realm experts. Almost every Emperor Realm expert would leave their name here, which was how the Monarch Sealing Tablet got its name. When Fei Rin stepped into the Great Emperor Realm and led the Heavenly Dragon Sect to destroy the 3 great immortal tribes and their enemies, he also left his name on the steel, titled the Great Yin Yang Emperor, the Divine Cauldron of Refining Immortals. This is an immortal Tao treasure that was born at the beginning of the universe. And the thing you covet is the Divine Cauldron, right? Looking at the majestic Emperor monument that shot up into the 9 heavens, Fei Rin said calmly. Then, he turned his head and looked behind him. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Your perception is not bad. As expected of the strongest Emperor Realm expert, the great Yin Yang Emperor Fei Rin. In the sky, a black-robed figure appeared, revealing a pale and horrifying vulture face. The aura of this person was extraordinary, and he had already stepped into the Emperor Realm. Moreover, there was a faint immortal power around him. His strength was far stronger than the demigods and semi-devils. You don't look like you're from the Black Star Continent. Fei Rin's eyes were cold. The immortal power was a power that only immortals could use. Although this black-robed use cultivation was only at the Great Emperor Realm, he had immortal power that even Fei Rin could not touch. Even if it was just a trace of immortal power, ordinary great emperors would not be able to resist it. That's right. I'm Earth Immortal Tao Qian, the subordinate of the Great Emperor Tongtian. This time, I came to the lower continent of the human world under the Great Emperor Tongtian's orders to bring back the Divine Cauldron. With a cold smile, the black-robed youth spoke. Earth Immortal, Tongtian Immortal Emperor. So the rumors left behind by the 7 great immortal clans are true. The Black Star Continent did give birth to immortals. Now it seems that these immortals should have ascended to the immortal world. However, the rumors left behind by the 7 great immortal clans did not mention anything about Tongtian Immortal Emperor. Hearing this, Fei Rin narrowed his eyes. The origin energy in his body began to circulate slowly, and an immortal aura spread out like an invisible force field. His opponent was here for the Divine Cauldron, and he was an Earth Immortal. There was no way he could avoid this battle. You want to resist? Ha ha! Seeing Fei Rin's action, Tao Qian laughed again. Then, he released a trace of immortal power from his body and instantly destroyed Fei Rin's immortal aura field, turning it into nothingness. If it wasn't for that heavenly king Li Tsangtian who stopped me and forced me to go into seclusion to heal my injuries and find a new body, you wouldn't have had the chance to step into the Great Emperor Realm and complete your revenge. As for the Great Yin Yang Emperor, he's a joke. In front of the immortal power, all martial arts are useless. If your immortal power was strong enough, you wouldn't have been defeated by the heavenly king Li Tsangtian. You wouldn't have hidden yourself like a rat on the street to heal your injuries, and only dare to show yourself today. Fei Rin's tone was neither fast nor slow, and he sneered. You're courting death. When the past was mentioned again, Tao Qian felt as if his sore spot had been poked. He flew into a rage, and in the next moment, he turned into a shadow and charged towards Fei Rin. Boom! A large amount of immortal power spread out and then turned into a river of stars, which was mixed with the endless power of law. and it was terrifying. Back then, when he first stepped into the human realm, he was suppressed by the power of the heavenly Tao and was not familiar with the power of the great Emperor realm. Therefore, he was no match for the heavenly king Li Sangtian at his peak and was defeated by him. However, Tao Qian had completely mastered the power of the great Emperor realm and could use a small part of the immortal power in his body, which greatly increased his strength. Although his strength was not as strong as a real Earth immortal, it was a piece of cake for him to crush an ordinary great emperor. Haha, good timing. In the face of Tao Qian's attack, Fei Ren roared into the sky, and the power of the great emperor realm completely exploded. At the same time, the refining divine cauldron, the power of yin and yang, and the power of space-time swept out and attacked Tao Qian from 3 different angles. Qi into Trinity. Countless rivers of stars retreated, and the power of law turned into nothingness. In the next moment, the refining divine cauldron exploded with an even stronger devouring power and swept towards Tao Qian like a black hole in the universe. Indeed, with the power of the great emperor realm, Fei Ren could not defeat Tao Qian, who could use a trace of the immortal power and whose strength was at the half-immortal realm. However, with the addition of the devouring power of the refining divine cauldron, things were different. The refining divine cauldron was the only immortal Tao treasure in the universe, and Fei Ren had already unleashed the power of the refining divine cauldron to the limit. Even if Tao Qian's strength recovered to the peak of the Earth immortal realm, he could still kill him, let alone a half-immortal. The refining divine cauldron, slaying immortals. Chapter 645. What? You've mastered the refining divine cauldron to such an extent. That's impossible. Tao Qian's expression changed when he saw Fei Ren break his attack in an instant. He was the subordinate of the heaven-reaching celestial emperor and an earthly immortal expert in the immortal world. Although he was suppressed by the rules of heaven and could not display the full strength of an earthly immortal, he still had a trace of immortal power in his body. An ordinary emperor would not be able to resist him. However, Fei Ren, who was in front of him, had broken his understanding. Not only had his strength reached the peak of the emperor realm, but he had also mastered the power of the refining divine cauldron. Even Tao Qian's immortal power could not resist the terrifying, devouring power of the cauldron. Nothing is impossible. He punched out again, and a large amount of devouring power shot toward Tao Qian like a black waterfall. Tao Qian was an earthly immortal. Ordinary primordial energy and the power of law were useless against him. Therefore, he had to use the power of the refining divine cauldron to kill Tao Qian. With the refining divine cauldron's devouring power, Tao Qian would not be able to escape. Boom! In the blink of an eye, under Fei Ren's shocking punch, the clouds collapsed and the void shattered. Damn it! I can't believe I'm not a match for a mortal. Is this the legendary refining divine cauldron that can destroy an immortal? Tao Qian spat out a mouthful of blood after taking another punch from Tao Qian. At the same time, he retreated. Tao Qian was only at the peak of the Emperor realm, but he was able to defeat an immortal. If Fei Ren's strength reached the half-immortal realm, Tao Qian would not be spitting out blood. He would probably be killed on the spot. Tao Qian was very clear about this, and what came along with it was unwillingness and anger. It's over. Fei Ren did not give Tao Qian any chance to fight back. In the next moment, he disappeared again and appeared in front of Tao Qian in an instant. Immortal slaying. The refining divine cauldron's devouring power was released without reservation. Fei Ren punched out again and aimed at Tao Qian's chest. In an instant, the immortal power in Tao Qian's body was completely absorbed by the devouring power. No! Tao Qian let out a shrill cry. In the next moment, he was blasted apart by Fei Ren, turning into a cloud of blood mist. Not even his corpse was left behind. As for the remaining celestial power and fate chart fragments, they were scattered all over the world. Then, They were all absorbed by Fei Rin's divine cauldron and turned into pure natural energy. So this is the power of an immortal. Suddenly, waves of throbbing came from his dantian. Fei Rin's face changed slightly. At the same time, he spread out his palms. The palms of his hands glowed with faint golden light, just like Tao Qian. Other than that, he could even sense the heavenly energy of the black star continent from the faint golden light. The heavenly Tao was a symbol of the order of the universe. The power of the way of the heavens was illusory. Whether it was the various continents of the mortal world or the supreme immortal world, they were all restricted by the power of the way of the heavens. Moreover, even the legendary immortals could not touch the power of the way of the heavens. They could only vaguely sense it. The power of an immortal, the devouring power, and the final power of the way of the heavens. Could these be the deepest secrets of the divine cauldron? Fei Rin's expression was one of shock. Just as the dead Tao Qian had said, the divine cauldron had the terrifying ability to destroy the immortal slayer. If he was not mistaken, the other party had mentioned the legendary power of the way of the heavens. The devouring power contained in the divine cauldron was the essence of the universe's origin, the power of the way of the heavens. The heavenly reaching immortal emperor. The power of the divine cauldron's way of the heavens represents the universe's origin. Even if you're the ruler of the immortal world and the heavenly reaching immortal emperor, you're still afraid of it. No wonder you sent an earth immortal to the mortal world to search for the divine cauldron. If that's the case, I'll end all of this with my own hands. After killing Tao Qian and attaining the body of a half-immortal, Fei Rin lifted his head to look at the stars in the sky. There was a profound look in his eyes. His body had already produced the power of an immortal and the universe's origin, the heavenly reaching immortal world. It was not difficult for him to break through to the immortal world. It was only a matter of time. Unknowingly, another 10 years had passed. Fei Rin was still at the peak of the continent. He did not leave the 9th level of the Emperor Tablet. Instead, he was comprehending. Moreover, he was not comprehending the power of an immortal. Instead, he was comprehending the universe's origin, the power of the way of the heavens. This was also the key to him becoming an immortal and ascending to the immortal world. What is the way of the heavens? The way of the heavens is the foundation of all living things and the universe. I control the universe's origin, the power of the way of the heavens. Hence, I am the way of the heavens. A sharp light shot out of his eyes. In the next moment, the aura around Fei Rin's body continued to skyrocket. The immortal power in his body increased rapidly. At the same time, he released a huge immortal aura. In an instant, the weather changed. The mountains and rivers broke. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Earth immortal, heavenly immortal, golden immortal, supreme immortal emperor. In just a few breaths' time, the immortal power in Fei Rin's body rose to the limit. He became a supreme existence comparable to an immortal emperor. Then, Fei Rin's figure gradually became ethereal. His entire body was enveloped by the power of an immortal. He was like the immortals in ancient myths and legends who had ascended into the heavens. He began to float toward the starry sky above the 9 heavens. His power had exceeded the limits of the Black Star continent. By right, he should be restricted by the Heavenly Path's laws. However, after the Heavenly Path's power was born in his body, Fei Rin was not rejected by the Black Star continent. This was because he was the way of the heavens, and the way of the heavens was also him. The reason why Fei Rin chose to ascend to the immortal world was to get rid of the last big problem. Heavenly reaching immortal emperor. Immortal world, heavenly reaching temple. Immortal emperor, earth immortal Tao Qian has been the mortal world for hundreds of years. However, he has not returned. I have a bad feeling the white-robed divine divination golden immortal stroked his long beard. His brows were tightly furrowed. Although Tao Qian had the strength of an earth immortal, he was restricted by the Heavenly Path's laws. After he went to the Black Star continent in the mortal world, he could not fully unleash the strength of an Earth immortal. Other than that, although he had predicted the appearance of the divine immortal refining cauldron hundreds of years ago, he did not know who had the divine immortal refining cauldron. Divine divination. The Black Star continent is only a low-level continent in the mortal world. Speaking of which, it has been tens of thousands of years since a new immortal was born. In such a weak continent, who can compete with that kid Tao Qian? In the middle of the hall, a black-haired, middle-aged man in a black robe stood quietly. One could vaguely see his entire body floating in the air. His surroundings were filled with the all-encompassing immortal power. Even if a trace of immortal power was accidentally released, it was enough to destroy an entire continent in a mortal world. The ruler of the immortal world, heaven-reaching immortal emperor. His strength was hundreds or even thousands of times stronger than the earth, immortal Tao Qian. No one in the immortal world could defeat him. Chapter 646. Boom! While the divine divination golden immortal and the sky-reaching immortal emperor were talking, the entire immortal realm shook violently, and an explosion resounded through the universe. Even the sky-reaching divine palace beneath their feet trembled as if it would collapse at any moment. What happened? The divine divination golden immortal turned pale with fright, and his beard trembled. This aura is the power of an ultimate immortal. Could it be that someone has also stepped into the immortal emperor level? The sky-reaching immortal emperor's expression changed slightly. Then, he raised his head and looked to the other side. In a vast starry sky, there was a figure flashing. The power of an extreme immortal was spreading out from him. Immortal emperor. How is that possible? Hearing that, the divine divination golden immortal's old face twitched, and he looked at the vast starry sky in the distance with a strange expression. As a senior figure in the immortal world, he knew very well what kind of existence an immortal emperor was and how terrifying his strength was. Only by developing the power of an immortal to the limit would one be qualified to become an immortal emperor. Even the heaven-reaching immortal emperor in front of him had spent tens of thousands of years to cultivate the power of an immortal to the limit. Moreover, he had obtained a legendary immortal weapon, the immortal slaying sword, which was why he was crowned as the ruler of the immortal world and called the heaven-reaching immortal emperor. Now, a new immortal emperor was born in the immortal world, which naturally made the divine divination golden immortal unable to remain calm. The heaven-reaching immortal emperor's original name was Zhang Xinghe. 200,000 years ago, he was an itinerant cultivator on a high-level continent in the human world. He cultivated step by step until he reached the pinnacle of the continent. Then, he ascended and became one of the many Earth immortals in the immortal world. 100,000 years ago, Earth immortal Zhang Xinghe plotted against his fellow disciples and killed the master who trained him. He obtained the immortal grade cultivation method, emperor record of heaven and earth, and became a perfected golden immortal. 30,000 years ago, perfected golden immortal Zhang Xinghe was lucky enough to survive while exploring the universe's origin. He awakened the power of an ultimate immortal in his body, and at the same time, accidentally obtained the immortal slaying sword, which gave him the supreme power that surpassed many golden immortals. Since then, he dominated the immortal world and was called the heaven-reaching immortal emperor. In the boundless starry sky, a man's voice came faintly. It was mixed with the power of the heavenly Tao, as if a god had issued a decree. At the same time, it spread across the entire immortal world and fell into the ears of all the immortals, including the heaven-reaching immortal emperor. In the next moment, Fei Ren's figure slowly appeared. His entire body was enveloped by the power of the way of the heavens, making him look like a real god. This person is the divine divination golden immortal's face turned ghastly pale. The sky-reaching Immortal Emperor was a legendary existence in the immortal world. He had become a supreme immortal emperor in less than 100,000 years. If it was not for Fei Run, even he would not have known about the past of the heaven-reaching celestial emperor, Zhang Xinghe. "Who are you?" When Zhang Xinghe saw Fei Run, a look of shock appeared on his face. As an immortal emperor-level expert, and also the only immortal who had come into contact with the universe's origin, he could clearly sense that the other party's body contained an enormous amount of heavenly energy. The power of the Way of the Heavens was illusory and did not exist anywhere in the world. The only way to communicate with the power of the Way of the Heavens was through the universe's supreme treasure, the divine, immortal, refining cauldron. It was also the divine item that the sky-reaching immortal emperor yearned for. The fact that Fei Ren possessed the power of the Way of the Heavens in his body meant that he had complete control over the divine, immortal, refining cauldron and had become the universe's heavenly Tao. He had transcended the immortal world and was an immortal existence. Since you've already guessed it, why bother asking? Fei Ren's tone was cold. "No, I'm the only ruler of the immortal world. You're just a fake immortal emperor. The power of the Way of the Heavens is nothing but a lie." The sky-reaching immortal emperor, Zhang Xinghe, laughed out loud. His face contorted, and his eyes suddenly turned red. He was like an enraged primordial beast or a self-deceiving clown. In the next moment, he charged toward Fei Run in the depths of the vast starry sky. Dying, the immortal power in his body was released without reservation. In the next moment, a peerless divine sword that could shake the universe appeared out of thin air. As if it had heard the call of the sky-reaching immortal emperor, Zhang Xinghe, it pointed directly at Fei Run in the depths of the starry sky. It was the immortal weapon, Immortal Slaying Sword. Immortal Slaying Sword? Immortals are also the playthings of the Way of the Heavens. This sword can slay immortals, but it can't change the Way of the Heavens. Facing the sky-reaching immortal emperor, Zhang Xinghe, who was holding the Immortal Slaying Sword, Fei Ren shook his head gently. He did not make any move to dodge. He simply stretched out his finger as if this finger contained the infinite power of the Way of the Heavens. "I am the Way of the Heavens." The power of the Way of the Heavens was released. It was colorless, formless, and silent. The sky-reaching immortal emperor, Zhang Xinghe, and the immortal slaying sword in his hand slowly dissipated. Then, they disappeared in the vast starry sky without leaving a trace. At this point, an immortal emperor had fallen. Ugh! The moment the sky-reaching immortal emperor, Zhang Xinghe, died, Fei Ren's expression changed slightly. Then, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He could clearly feel the extreme immortal power in his body slowly disappearing. At the same time, the immortal refining cauldron began to shatter. Without the suppression of the immortal refining cauldron, a large amount of power of the Way of the Heavens instantly devoured his body as if everything was returning to its origin. "Am I going to die too?" "Tangshu and Nicole, I'm sorry." His lips parted slightly. Fei Ren finally lost his last trace of consciousness. Then his body was destroyed, and his entire body merged into the vast starry sky. In the room, "Is this a dream?" Slowly opening his eyes, Fei Ren shook his slightly swollen head. His vision gradually became clear. He vaguely remembered that he had become the incarnation of the Way of the Heavens and defeated the sky-reaching immortal emperor, the ruler of the immortal world. However, in the next moment, the immortal refining cauldron shattered. He was also affected by the power of the Way of the Heavens and gradually lost consciousness. Until now, when he woke up again, he was in a strange yet familiar room. "Husband, you're finally awake. This is great. Sister Tang and I have been worried sick about you for the past few days." At this moment, a beautiful young woman pushed the door open and walked in. Then, she walked up to Fei Ren's bed. There was a hint of worry on her pretty face as she spoke with heartache. I'm fine. Nicole, I've made you and Tangshu worried. I'm sorry." The person who came was Xiao Nicole. Fei Ren reached out and scratched his head. There was an apologetic expression on his face. Don't say sorry. Ever since you left that day, you stood before the Emperor bestowment tablet for 10 days and 10 nights. It was as if you were possessed. In the end, you even fainted on the spot. It wasn't just me and Sister Tang. Senior Heavenly King and the others were also very worried about you. It's great that you're fine now. However, here's the medicinal porridge that Sister Shun personally made. It can nourish your body. This is a rare Emperor-grade medicinal porridge. Hurry up and drink it. Otherwise, it'll turn cold. Xiao Nicole reached out and touched Fei Ren's forehead again. Then, she brought the medicinal porridge over and said in a slightly annoyed tone. She seemed to be worried about a little wife who had been scared for a long time. Fei Ren didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Okay. I'll listen to my wife. As a reward, your husband is going to flip your sign today and love you. With a grin, Fei Ren reached out and received the warm medicinal porridge. You're talking nonsense again. Who wants your love? Hurry up and drink the medicine. Otherwise, I'll tell Senior Heavenly King and let them deal with you. Blushing, Xiao Nicole rolled her eyes at Fei Ren. Then, she immediately turned around and ran out of the room. A few minutes later, he slowly put down the small bowl of medicinal porridge. Fei Ren inadvertently glanced at his left palm. He was stunned for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. Perhaps this isn't a dream. There was a clear bloodstain there. It vaguely emitted a devouring power, as if it was proof that the immortal refining cauldron had once existed. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.